just go yenyewe. Hii gava yenyewe imefanya watu wamekuwa na hasira hapa nje. Mazi pipi unakasirika. Toka hapa. Anyway. Mimi kuja hapa hivi hata kama sikuwa na account yangu. Mimi kuja hapa pia saa zingine kusikia vile Western Shihalo anaongea. Hadi nimeanza kupractice kwa kio vile anaongeanga. Unajua like unacheki wale wasi anaweza ongea. But then, Western Shihalo sometimes anaweza ongea. Nataka tu kusikia vile anaongea tu. The way he pronounce things, the way he stays, you know. Ni wale watu wako fluent. Manze. It sounds so nice, unaona. Ni kama wale kina Lumumba unacheki. Wako hiyo category. I love it. So kazi fiti unafanya pipi as usual. History ya headphones isikusumbue. Hii tuliza organize na Japuonji tukuletee brand new. Japuonji yako hapa hivi. Japuonji ni mtu pesa si shida, anatafuta tu matumizi. Wewe Japuonji utakuja hapa tufanye hii maneno 1 2 3, si ndio? Hii dakika kidogo pia nimetoka mpaka mmetoa Malia Davis faceless, haki ya Mungu. Hii dakika kidogo natoka mmetoa watu faceless donge. Anyway, it's nice to be here, Pipi. And ni beginning ya week. So mazee sitaanzia na bad energy zangu zinaanziaga nazo Monday. Hii Monday na wasamea. Ile Monday nyingine ndakuja na hizo za ovyo pia. Inshallah. Otherwise utakuwa. Alafu nilifanyika na ile Omran Extra. Nili happen.
Tulileta kwa live, iko kwa Twitter live. Unaona? So najaribu kustabilize ya YouTube live kwanza, alafu ndo nikuwe na spaces zangu kando. So najaribu pia kuinspire the young ones. Kuna show tunaleta inaitwa Midnight Connect. So kuna majamaa majenzi watatu ndo wanairan sai. Kutoka from around 9 p.m. to midnight every Saturday. Actually the latest one iko kwa YouTube ya HWP. Hata kwa account yangu, if you go to my live you can see it. It's the latest one.
Nice. You're a busy man, maze. Uko busy. Kazi fiti unachapa. Mimi ndaku encourage tu Pipi, usiaichoka maze. Najua zingine, unajua hii ni kama nasemaje, ni kama ka NGO una run. Yeah, but unafanya kazi fiti. And please guys, kama kawaida tip ja namba iko hapo juu. Please wekeni Pipi kakitu. Akirudi ushago, walisema ushago kwao ni wapi? Akirudi ushago mazee tutakuwa na Hispania. Akirudi Hispania bwana itakuwa noma bwana. Anyway, asante sana Pipi. Thanks. I'll be here. I'll be listening. Asante sana.
Asante sana Wodako akikuwa kwa account yake main anaongea very much sense. Ukikuwa kwa ile bana account, kumbe unajua ni kitambo sana ni kitambo sana nifukuze mtu hivyo kwa space. Siwezi sahau. So what happened mpaka Malia Davis ametoka faceless tena? Unajua latest news kutoka wanaume wenye wanavaa madera kwa X ni kwamba mimi na Joeli tuko na mahusiano. My God. Yani siku hizi yani mnaguzishwa hadi by force, by Bluetooth. Anyway, nimerekomendia wavae madera, free size inakuanga poa. Yeah. I'm not going to take part in social media, what do you call it? Social media gossip and who's left with what. Hatuna hiyo time. Nchi inaenda bwana. Who I choose to be with should not be any of your businesses. Yeah? Yes, so I will not take part in that. Naona watu walijikaza hadi wana record spaces zangu. Yeah, I speak the way I speak, guys. My Jesus. Mnakuanga Jesus zingine. Anyway, I've also noticed that we are back to accident season. For those who have not noticed, nimeona ma-accidents zimeanza kuhappen again in Homa Bay today, Homa Bay Rongo Road. 2 people have been killed and another one has been injured at Arujo Bridge in Homa Bay. Yeah, so there is also that. Murkomen has just spoken about the chiefs. Unakumbuka nikiwaambia ile story ya wale machifu watano wenye walichukuliwa when Mobali Nangai was visiting there. So they have finally been released 2 months after being taken hostage by the Al-Shabaab militia. Nini ingine ninaona Kinshasa. I've seen very disappointing floods in Kinshasa and Congo. We are praying for them. The river Ndijiri has broken its banks and it is nimeona watu wakipigana, mtu anabebwa na maji. Wanaume, energy is very important. Muscle. Okay, naona Malia Davis ako hapa. Malia, who dared you ukuje off? Hata mimi najua nilitolewa faceless na dare. Who dared you?
No, nobody dared me. Unajua hii platform unaonanga watu wakikufa ndio mtu akikufa ndio saa hiyo unajitokelezea, which is a very sad state of affairs. Why should you wait until when you are dying, when you are dead, when you are typing RIP ndio tukujue? But sitaongea sensitive topic kwa leo kwa sababu najua watu wa Subaru wanaweza nifikia, so nita keep off sensitive topics until the day nitarudi back to incognito. Sasa kujua mpaka kwangu kwa nyumba. Yeah, otherwise tunaendelea. Mzee wetu ameamua kwenda kutupelekea pesa Mount Kenya. Acha tuletee pesa yetu tukule. And we are happy. Huko pesa inamwagika kama mvua. Pesa ya wananchi, pesa ya housing levy. Hii pesa yote yenye inakusanywa imeenda huko this week. So it's very unfortunate. Or fortunate, I don't know which is which, but people are suffering. Wacha nikwambie. Kwanza business people, imagine KRA wanaku approach, let's say uko na manyumba za rentals, wanakuambia hizi nyumba zako za rentals utakuwa ukisubmit tax vizuri, so we want 8 million. Failure to which we freeze all your accounts. Watu wanalia hapa nje pipi. Wachana sasa venye sisi tulikuwa tunalia mambo na housing finance. Nakwambia watu wanalia. KRA mpaka nilisikia daktari mwingine anasema ati walituma tu vijana twingine. Kuna tu vijana tumepigwa au tumeandikwa hapo kazi ya kuenda kuinvestigate daktari anapata pesa ngapi kwa hiyo kliniki yake. Wanakuja, wanajifanya wao ni patients, wanaangalia, wanafanya ka investigation. Wakiona ile pesa unapata ni mingi compared to chenye umekuwa ukifile, my friend, unapigwa mpaka fine. Sasa the environment is very hostile for everybody. Hata wale wenye walikuwa nafikirianga they are bit on the safer side, hakuna. Na sasa pia wanaingia kwa M-Pesa, wanatafuta njia zote zile za kutafuta taxation. Nasikia hii budget inakuja ni mbaya, so they need money, and of course they need money for campaigns hizi zenye wanashinda wakitembea. So pesa lazima itafutwa. Unajua sasa mtu mwenye ako kwa payslip yake hawezi kata beyond a certain point, but mtu wa biashara, nikwambia, mtu wa biashara, watu wa marentals, madaktari, anyone who is working is self-employed sahi hana furaha, na wanakuja in a very lethal way, wanakuja in a very lethal way. Wana freeze accounts zako hata kama we ni employer na hujalipa pay. Unajua kuna some employers yenye they deduct the pay and then they divert the money to go to operations instead of kuremit your pesa. Hata NSSF na hizo zingine, some employers hivyo ndio wanafanyanga. Unachukua hiyo pesa, ukiona sasa kuna kashida hapo kwa kampuni, hiyo pesa ya pay ndio una divert kwenda kusort out my issues. Sasa ukifanya hivyo, wanakuja wana freeze accounts zako zote. all of them, hakuna account hata moja inaachwa mpaka ulipe pesa ndio accounts zitafunguliwa. So Kenya imekuwa hardship country, wacha nikwambie. Na hiyo sio mwisho. Unasikia saa hii ni kupanga, wako kwa mikakati, alafu watu wenye wanafanya KRA wamekiwa matargets. Mtakana ucollect a certain amount of money. If you don't collect that money, unawekwa probation. Na the next time again, if you don't still meet it, unafutwa kazi. So kila mtu ako under pressure kwa hii gava, wacha nikwambie. And that's why 2027 you have to make sure this guy goes, because anataka to milk up to the last drop. Sio mwanafunzi, sio mwalimu, sio daktari, sio mtu mwenye ako kwa biashara yake, sio investors wametoroka, sio mtu mwenye amejenga tu rentals wake, pengine bado hata analipa loan. Hata kujua hizo story zote, wanakuleta tu lump sum, wana backdate. Wanakuja wana value hiyo place, wanaona hii place iko worth this much, wana backdate sijui na 15 years. Sasa wana expect tutoa wapi? Wafikiria tu pesa yani tu imekaa hapo imewangojea ukuje utoe. Tena hawataki stories za sijui payment plan, sijui ulipe polepole. Hawataki hizo. Wanataka kama pesa uko, kama you owe them, you give them the money, otherwise forget about your account. Forget about your accounts being open. They'll be frozen for good until the day when you produce that money, pesa taslimu, ndio utaona account yako tena. So we're living in a kind of a mafia state, kind of environment. Sasa anyway, those are the hardships of Kenya tumezoea. So long as we're with this guy, you can as well expect anything. So by the way, nilisikia story ya na Joeli. When are you getting married? Tuambie.
Hebu acha umbea Malia. Umetoka faceless tu juzi. What's wrong with you?
Lakini Pipita watu wanakupenda sana. Imagine, yani Pipita, mimi sijui ulifanyia ama kuna mtu ulislice msichana hapo, hebu tuambie ukweli. Juu anakuanga na wewe hivi kwa hivi. Sako kwa bako. Anything about Pipita? Pipita
Kila
this,
wiki
Pipita
mpaka
that.
wataje Pipita. Unajua saa zingine wanajua nasemanga. Hauwezi jua venye unasaidia mtu. Sasa mimi labda nawasaidia kuongeza maisha wakiniongea.
Pipita mazuri, unaleta compare bana. Unaleta compare hapa hivi. Hao vijana, Pipita, Pipita ameheartbreakiwa. Sijui Pipita amefanya nini? Sasa nikashindwa, kama umeheartbreakiwa, kwani walikuwa na ukiheartbreakiwa ama walijua aje ati umekuwa heartbreak? Kijana mdogo alienda kujifanya anajua kucheza na wasichana wakubwa, wakamheartbreak. Ingia manosphere. Ingia manosphere. Ama hata kurecruit kwa manosphere ndio wanakuletea hizo story. Wanataka ingia kwa manosphere wakufunze mikakati, how to deal with these people called women. Kwanza nani ako wapi ule Mswahili wetu? Alidecide disappear kabisa after Ramadhani.
Ismail is amekuwa, lakini I don't know, maybe he's still busy, back to work and stuff.
Okay, sawa Pipita. Salamu, wacha nisalimia wenzangu wote wenye wako. Na ukifanya harusi na Joeli, make sure mtuite tukue bridesmaid. Tukapo mbele, mstari wa mbele, supporters. Nataka kusikiza story from manosphere. We want to get it direct from the horse's mouth. Asante.
Mimi kitu naweza sema ni kwamba maadui wangu wako kazi na naona wanafanikiwa. Hiyo ndo ninaweza sema kwa saizi. Yeah, they have been sent and it looks like it's working. Hii namna gani mnatuambia hapa bwana? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Home Run with PP. Happens here each and every day from 4 p.m. all the way to 9. Masania, East African. And of course, I know there are people listening to us from the other side of the globe. Good morning. Wale wengine watusikiza kutoka side ile ingine, good evening. Katikati, good afternoon. Those are from Ghana. Yeah. and Nigeria. Yes, but this is okay, twice Nigerians. Okay, good. So yes, I hope you're doing amazing. I have never had someone tuning in from Egypt. Anyway, as I was saying, today we are having a investment Monday conversation. But sasa nimeshindwa to have conversation gani ya investment, because every time we have these conversations of investment, all I get is people complaining about high cost of living, yeah. And see, many nikitembea around Rongai, I see businesses are running. So is it that we are complaining a lot, or these businesses are still running and are struggling at the same time? Because now people, I'm really confused as a person, you know. And also, I'd like to say that Home Run EPP is supported by you, the listener. 0721948229 is the number that I have there. Paleju, drop in and support, so that they can say that we are getting paid. Hey, jamani, mina naambiwanga vitu. Now, also we export a lot. We can also have the conversation on labor export and how viable can that be. Now, na Bionic, I'm going to do. How are you doing, Bionic?
Good morning, PP.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. Hi, everybody who can hear me. Now that you're talking about investment, first of all, how was your weekend, PP?
Mine was chill, just relaxing, you know. You're relaxing.
Okay.
No, ukisota unanga mambo mob.
Sawa, sawa. I had a conversation with a friend who's in Kenya, and I was asking her about the best ways to invest in Kenya, other than banks and SACCOs. Now that SACCOs have become a bit, unreliable, for lack of a better term. She told me about government bonds, and she also invests in government bonds. I don't know if you know anything about them. She gave me some contacts to rather contact of a financial guy to call and get more on all that. But I was wondering if you know anything about it, or if anyone listening knows anything about or is into investing in government bonds. Supposedly it's a sure way, and despite the economy, despite who's in power, government bonds are a reliable way to make money long term. So I don't know, maybe anybody who knows can share some information. Thanks.
All right. We have had the conversation on government bonds, and yes, wale wenye wanajua mambo ya investment in terms of, or they have an experience in that, they can also join in and maybe advise Bionic what they can, what they can do in terms of investing in government bonds. Personally, I do not have much experience kwa hiyo upande. Yes, I've been trying to look at where to put money, and I feel like currently my eyes are still weighing that MMF option. But the government bonds have also presented good returns. Yes. So when I was asking to invest, somebody told me that if I want to invest in government bonds, it's for those people who want their money to come back over a long period of time. See, it's not for people who want their money tomorrow like me. They want long-term investors, So the higher amount of money you put in, the higher the return. Mtanisaidia wale wenye mlisoma economics. Nilimaliza business studies form 2. So yes, hii nakupatia tu my layman thinking. And of course, the government bonds have a rate, and then also kuna hiyo tax. So I think waliambia kwamba ukicalculate una make sure umecalculate na taxation as well, because many people just calculate the interest and then forget how much tax am I paying on this bonds? Na feel kama nimekuwa chopi sana. Yeah, unasikia vinaambia on these bonds, the yield. Yeah, there are treasury bonds, those we call T-bills, and then you can go for what again? Mtanikumbusha hapo hivi. So yes, anybody who has a good, anaitwa Kahome Steve, tumeambia ni follow Kahome Steve. Gishuki Kahome, yes. Umeambia ufollow mtu anaitwa Gishuki Kahome for financial tips. Yeah, mimi nitakuadvise tu ya juju yenye najua. Alright? Mimi nitakuadvise ya juju peke yake.
Repeat hiyo kitu iko na withholding tax Kuna withholding pia na sijui kama wanapanga kuongeza, so hivyo uingia, kama hujaingia tayari angalia, kwa sababu hao watu they seem to be adding taxation every now and again, especially wakiona watu wengi wameenda mahali, wamepeleka pesa mahali, wanaingilia hapo kwanza kupeleka taxation hapo, so check on that.
But then kuna hiyo issue aspect ya taxation yenye watu wengi they don't seem to talk about, even when you're talking about investing in money market funds. They will tell you 18%, 18% fixed charges. I think it's go between 13 and 16%. But they don't tell you kwa hiyo commission kuna pesa pia unachajiwa tax hapo hivyo. But yes, anyway, I'd want to get somebody who is in mambo ya investment. I have our investment analyst, but sasa sai ako nje kwenye leave. So yeah, alisema she does not talk much on spaces. But yes, let me see if I can text her. Akuje. Yeah. Uzazi ni baraka nakwambia.
People, you're talking about the lady who graced us with her presence a few months ago?
A few weeks ago, Burial, yeah. She has been listening to these spaces for Home Run with People is turning about 2 years in July. So she has been listening to the show, got married, yeah, was still listening, got a kid, got preggers, and now she got the kid. Oh, manze. I need to get serious. My project for 8 years sioni kama itamalizika. But yes, I wish you all the best. And some of you are even getting relationships here. Mungu awabariki sana. Lakini mnanitumia tips basi. Mnachukuana mnatoka kwa space mnaenda. Mtanimaliza. So yes, I'm calling on anybody who knows matters investment to come over here and talk to us. Where can we put our money? People like asking that question. And unajua saa zingine mnaambiana weka kwa kweli. Ndio maana Wakenya wako very easy to convince. Weka kwa kweli. Kidogo naambiwa, lakini the craziest ni ya weka mkojo ya sungura. Hiyo na hapo ndio nilipika nikarealize eti nasikia mayai ya kweli ni pesa sana. Na ningine yani kumekuwa na very very funny scams. African Queen anasema at the rate the Kenyan government is borrowing and debt levels, the Kenyan bonds are not safe haven investments. They used to be. I see us going the Ghanaian way, where the government will extend the bond terms and slash the face value as well as the coupon. Sijui Kenya amesema hapo, lakini inakaa ni serious. Wacha nirudie kwa nguvu, labda nyinyi mtaielewa. At the rate the Kenyan government is borrowing and debt levels, the Kenyan bonds are not safe haven investments. They used to be. I see us going the Ghanaian way, when the government will extend the bond terms and slash the face value as well as the coupon. African Queen ame break down hii kitu venye nilikuwa nataka kusema. Western Shilao once spoke about how you cannot invest in corruption. There was this time he was talking about Ghana, and I hope Western can come and talk to us about how when you invest in such things, you're empowering more corruption, because these T-bills are supposed to be the government taking this money, investing in projects so that the projects can pay back, so that it can pay back to you. Like it's just now that there are no projects going on. You get it? And I think it's not even more than 2 years before after Ghana did that. When Bionic spoke about investing in T-bills, my first thought was Ghana. I was like, uko sure kweli unataka kupatia wajamaa pesa? Sieri tu invest basi T-bills za huko kwenu, huko kwenye huko, because hapa ukiinvest hapa kwa hizo mabills, you're bound to be washed at some point. But that is just me and my opinion, of course. I feel like every day anything that is government related is getting more volatile. Inajua, inakuwa more volatile to invest in, because right now you don't know. You cannot say you have a surety that you're going to get your money back. Malia Davis, can you say that you're sure? Oh, yeah, I'll get my money back from these bonds and stuff. So, I don't know. Japonji ameandika hapo hivi what is happening, and actually the stock market is actually going through a lot, because the world's 500 richest lost 500 billion this week. That is the biggest loss ever recorded. Only Warren Buffett made money. How does Warren Buffett make money? This guy, Walmart, yeah, he made $12.7 billion. Yay, how you not only lose? Elon Musk lost 130 billion. Mi hata nikipoteza 130 naanza kusikia vibaya. Anyway, so we are talking about how do you mitigate the high cost of living, and one of the suggestions that has been given here is investing in bonds. You can request the microphone and talk to us as well. Mondays is all about investments, and I would like to hear. We always talk about, oh, there's something going on. What can we do with the country? What can we do with the country? What can you do with the little that you have right now? So yes, that is maybe what I have for you. Let me see. Naona tumepatiwa majina za watu wenye tunafaa kufollow for finances. There are a lot of people who are good in finances. Wale wanajua kuongelea finance. Sisi hapa hivi kwa finance kidogo, it's a lie. Kwa mambo ya finance hapo kidogo, mimi na nikiwaambia tena nafundisha business mtakosea.
Ladies and gentlemen, join Home Run with PP every weekday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. only on X Spaces. Home Run with PP, the home of your most valuable social conversations.
Haya basi, you're tuned into Home Run with PP, and of course, kama kawaida on Mondays is all about investments. And personal investment is also very important in as much as we want to talk about how the country invests in stuff, yeah. So at this moment, we are talking about, there's a question that has been floated na mimi sijui mambo ya finance, so I'm waiting for anybody who is an economist to jump in on the mic and talk to us. Yes. How comes financial market is going down all over the world and exchange rates, but Kenyan dollar is still staying the same? Yes, mtu anaweza nisaidia kujibu hiyo. Huyo ni Japonji ameuliza hiyo swali. Like, the president on his speech in Sagana said dollar iko 128, 129, but the top 500 lost a half a trillion in investment. The stock markets are falling, including the Chinese stock market. Let me just even get the numbers from Spectator Index. You guys, do you get news from Spectator Index like me? Bionic.
Markets are falling because of the orange incompetent loser who's running this place. He
Let me
put
tell you.
tariffs
Let me
high
tell you
tariffs
the
on
markets, how their markets are behaving according to Spectator Index, yeah, as of 12 today. They're saying Hong Kong is down negative 13%, Taiwan negative 9.7%. I think this one is because of the Chinese tariffs. Negative 7.4% in Singapore, negative 7.3% in China, Italy negative 6.9%. These are stock markets that are now falling. Remember, when this happens, people lose money. Germany negative 5.6%, Switzerland negative 5.5%, UK negative 4.6%, Philippines negative 4.3%, Malaysia 4% negative, India the same, negative 3.8, Russia negative 3.1, Turkey negative 2.5, and only Saudi Arabia gained 0.5. So it's like the whole world is red. And you're talking about the
Yeah.
orange guy.
He put tariffs on all our trading partners, all the major ones, and it's a ripple effect. Like high tariffs, 25, 20% tariffs on all products that they manufacture and send to the US. So it has to affect their markets, and these tariffs became effective on Friday. So it's it's even worse here because all the products that we get from outside, that we buy or that are manufactured outside the US the prices of those products are gonna go up, and those costs are gonna be passed to the consumer, to us. So products of food, consumer products, everything has already gone up immediately. So you can blame him, that incompetent fool. Excuse my French.
So nyinyi tayari mshaanza ku get the ripple effect of these tariffs going up.
Kabisa. Kabisa. Food, I mean, you can't even, before you could go to the grocery store with maybe $100 and fill your cart. Now you barely leave. The stuff you're buying with $100, you can hold them in your hand and walk out and pay with everything. Even eating eggs has become a luxury. Eggs, meat,
Okay.
like regular stuff that that you wouldn't think. Everything has gone up. Cars that are manufactured in Canada and Mexico, because we have the car manufacturing industry, but different parts are made outside. Like in Canada, they make this part. In Mexico, they make a certain part. So he put tariffs on both of those countries. So the price of new cars has shot up like, I don't know, crazy. So now the used car market is going up. So basically, people are not going to be buying new cars or even buying American cars, and trying to buy cars that are imported from outside is also a problem. Like Japanese cars or German cars, that's going to be crazy because he's put tariffs on them too. So anything being imported is it's impossible. So cars that are in the market already that are used cars, there's now like a rush on those cars. People who want to buy cars are now buying used cars that have been sitting in the market, nothing new. It's just ridiculous. Products, Samsung phones that are made in Korea have already gone up because he's put tariffs on South Korea as well. Chinese products, like a lot of our consumer goods are made in China, a lot. So anything we buy basically now, clothes, because a lot of clothes come made in China, made in Vietnam, made in Cambodia. All those countries the tariffs have been put on them. So buying clothes, a lot of clothing stores have already shut down. This past week, they were having a lot of going out of business sales in these stores that sell clothing because continue buying, manufacturing or importing clothes to fill their stores. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy the times that we're living in. So people are just holding on to money, because now you can't spend money because you don't know what tomorrow is gonna be like. So people are hoarding their cash. It's unbelievable right now. These times we are living in. It feels like the 2008 stock market crash all over again, like the recession. But this is man-made. Like this is made by one incompetent fool. Teslas, Canada said they're not selling Teslas anymore. They're not importing Teslas. So Elon Musk made a big mistake by getting into the government. A lot of these bad ideas came from him. So he's suffering too. He's basically the Tesla board want to get rid of him. I think they've actually gotten rid of him. He's just a figurehead now. He's not really running the company. He's not like the money judge. They've fired him because he's really affecting the Tesla stock. Tesla stock fell, I think, 500%. That's how crazy it fell. He was crying on TV, telling people not to sell their Tesla stock, telling people not to stop buying Teslas. But he did that to himself. Excuse me. Because he got involved with Trump and I'm sorry. And his ideas of how to run the government have affected people greatly. He's firing 70,000 people at once, firing people who've had these jobs for the longest time, government jobs, saying he's streamlining the government. But you're streamlining the government without a plan. You're just going in there and just shaving off workers, people who have families, who have, pensions. So he's affected all kinds of people, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, everybody. It's, I don't know, man. These are the worst of the times, I'm telling you. But excuse my ranting, but it's things that, and this is the beginning of these tariffs. Like he's saying, he's still going on with them. He had a chart of I don't know how many countries he was bragging that he's imposed tariffs on them, as if it's a good idea. All economists were telling him not to do this, but doesn't really listen to anybody but his co-president, Elon Musk. So yeah, that's where we are at. Thanks for letting me rant.
Thank you, Bionic. And sometimes you have to realize our show is basically that we let you speak because mostly we don't have any power here, to directly change that policy. But by us speaking about it, we don't know who is listening, and probably it's going to land into the ears of the people now who actually can effect the change. So, yeah, so thank you so much for also opening up and telling us the situation on the other side of the globe. I see Good Boy has joined us. As Marcel Tesla stock foiling is not a big deal. We have a bear market and it's buying opportunity. Stop gaslighting on this forum. Elon is just fine. He's helping fight corruption entrenched by globalists. Everybody has their own opinion. Sadness or sad about democracy in the year. But thank you so much, Anito Asma, for that as well. Good boy, KE. I've seen a lot of attacks on Teslas, and it's actually crazy. Mbona mnagwariana gari? Yes, I know you guys hate Tesla, but sasa mi nimenunua Toyota. Am I now Toyota? So ukichoma Toyota yangu inasaidia aje Toyota? Inaumizaje Toyota? Anyway, I don't understand how people reason sometimes. Good boy, KE, how are you doing?
Hey, Pipita, how are you?
I am well, bana. Na wewe?
I'm good. Uh, I hope you had a great weekend and everyone here.
Well rested, bro.
Fantastic. So I see the topic, mitigating high cost of living. So I just saw then one of the posts on Twitter, or X rather, that there's a matatu that caught fire on a petrol station, and the passengers scattered for safety. Pipita, that's one of the consequences of high cost of living, because if you have high cost of living, then it trickles down to every sector of every part of the citizenry, be it transport, because many of the people use public. I should not say public, because those vehicles belong to private individuals. Those are private transportation. They're not public transportation. If they were public indeed, then they would have belonged to the government. So this high cost of living, Pipita, it is intentionally forced. It is intentionally orchestrated by the elite, I should say. You see, it is very easy, as I've said before, it is very easy to run a government, or rather a country or a nation, if you have honest people, if you have people who have gone to school, learned whatever craft, or rather the course that they have learned, be it nursing, be it medicine, be it accountancy, be it a lawyer, etc. There's a reason why you go to school, to learn these things, to master them. And then there is also pupillage. I think in the law fraternity, there is attachment and internship, where now you put in practice whatever you've learned for a certain period of time, and it's also included in your examination and the final score. And then afterwards, once you've proven yourself that in the internship, pupillage, etc., you have actually proven yourself in that particular trade, then at the end of the day, you graduate. Of course, additionally to other subjects and units. Then they certify you indeed that this person has mastered whatever they have learned during these 7 years, 5 years, 4 years, whatever. And then you are given a certificate, and then you are told, adios, go to the world and apply your skills that you've learned here. So there's a reason why people go to school and acquire knowledge, and then that knowledge should be able to go and be applied somewhere. And the best place to apply this knowledge and these skills is the government. And because the government affects the nation. And if the workers, or the skills bearers, trade bearers in the government, are not efficient enough, are not honest, they lack integrity, they have a shady background, then this automatically affects the nation and the citizenry at the bottom of the pyramid. Now, you've seen that many of these public officers, be it PSs, be it CSs, even up to the presidency, you've seen that there's a certain cadre of officers, or certain cadre of government workers. There's a level of salary that they earn. There's a level of benefits that they earn. There's a level of retirement benefits also that they earn. You could see that they are very, very, I cannot say, I don't know how to put this. It's very ridiculous, because how can you earn around 500,000 Peter after everything has been deducted? And then there are things called imprest. There are things that there are allowances. There are mileages, etc. And then you still complain you want to be added more on what you are earning currently after every deduction. And you are going to the best hospitals. McHugh, they are not using the SHA, the one that they are pushing into our guts right now. They don't know exactly how this thing works. They don't know the consequences in the hospitals. Today, I was going to one of my sessions, physiotherapy sessions, and then I just asked one of the doctor, "Is SHA? Do you accept SHA?" And she literally said, "We don't accept SHA here." And adding on to that, she said that it is not even acceptable in any other hospital, private basically. So they have actually refused. And I asked her, why have they refused? Is it because there is corruption, cartels, etc., as it is mentioned by these politicians who, try to push it into our guts? She said, no, it's because the payments, they're not made. Number two, even if they are made, it is push and pull. And after they are made, it is a very small portion that is made. So at the end of the day, you see a hospital, you as a business person who has come up with the hospital, you tend to have so many debts because you have to get some loan to operate and then expecting that some money somewhere else will be paid, and then you go and pay that loan back. Now if you want to basically make an economy well, or an economy do well, don't dwell on the expenditures mostly. Like currently, if you see the budget that was pushed, you could see that there's a lot. I think there's a space I mentioned it to you, that they have allocated a lot. The bigger chunk is recurrent. So why do you allocate a bigger chunk to recurrent? Meaning, if a recurrent, the recurrent expenditure is big than the other ones, that means there's a problem. That means there are so many people being paid salaries in the government. That means the government is bloated. Apart from that, there are people earning a lot of salary, big salaries. There's a very big gap in terms of salary, allowances, etc., between the normal civil servants. Could be a teacher, could be a doctor, etc., compared to the people who work directly in the government. You can say the CSS, the PSS, etc., even the president and the MPs. I don't consider MPs as civil servants. I could consider them as they have their own arm, the legislature. So the salary is too big. There's a lot of recurrent that is being used, recurrent budget being used to pay, people, of which we can be able to, to cut down the salaries. We can be able to remove most of these positions, like the prime cabinet secretary is even unconstitutional. PSs, what are PSs doing? What is the function of a PS? We need to only have a CS, or either we remove a CS or we remove a PS. We remain with one. There is, I think, there is another office that they want to come up with, grapevines, the prime minister or something they want to come up with. And also these parliamentary committees, what are they doing? They are eating up the taxpayers' money. What are these parliamentary committees doing? And after they've compiled a report, it is not actioned. What is the purpose of them? sitting there doing, talking, throwing words, etc., like drama and all that, and then nothing is done. So, Pipita would say the government is bloated, number one. It's eating up the pockets of the taxpayer. And the policies that are being pushed regarding the health, regarding the education, and any other taxes, they are not commensurate to the development being, fronted. There's actually no development. Actually, I would say there's no development. So the expenditure is too much in the government, recurrent expenditure specifically, that we need to remove. We need to remove people, we need to cut down salaries, and we need to audit from way back, even if it's possible, way back from Kenyatta, Kenyatta Senior, Moi, Kibaki, Uhuru Junior, and then and then this guy here right now. We need to do a very comprehensive audit, and once we find out that these people are culpable, that they have, spent a lot of money, and most of it has gone in their pockets, and all the shady deals and all that, then we go to their retirement benefits, we go to their properties, we go to anything that belongs to them, and take what is due to the nation, take what is due to the taxpayer, actually, since back then until current. Then we put that in the economy. I think that's part of the solution, I would say, that would work, but it will take tooth and nail and, dedicated and honest people to do that. Thank you, Pipita. I would yield right now. If I have anything else later, I would raise my hand. Appreciate.
This is Home Run with Pipi.
Thank you, good boy, for that submission. Naona Malia ameweka mkono juu. Malia.
Thank you, Pipita. I think I want to disagree with the person who's just spoken. The issue of salaries is really not the issue. Our recurrent expenditure, a huge part of our recurrent expenditure is debt payments. As we've been hearing from what's his name? This guy who Wanjiki, we are paying out of every 100 shillings that we get out of revenue. That is revenue collection, tax collection. 80 shillings is going to taxation. So even that recurrent expenditure, talking about salaries, is coming from the about 20%, which is remaining. So our biggest headache in this country and our biggest recurrent expenditure is actually debt repayment. We are in a state of debt distress because it's getting to a point where when we started out, we were paying principal. Now, no interest. We are paying interest. Now we have now gotten to the meat. The debtors want their principal amounts, including their interest. At first, they had waived for us to just be paying the interest. And the interest is a very small amount compared to the principal amount which you're supposed to be paying. So we have that. Then we have a problem in this country. With every new regime that enters, we end up with an expenditure which was not expected. For example, if you enter in an office today, or let's say in 2027, you don't use the vehicles which were there. You want your own vehicles, you want your new vehicles, because all these procurements, they're supposed to help you eat something. You're supposed to make something out of it. It's a cash cow. So you want your fleet. So forget about the other one, whether it was bought only 5 years ago and it's pretty fine, you'll know what to do with it, but you want yours. Then come other miscellaneous expenses like decorating, decorating, the furnishing and refurbish, all those things which you hear Omanga is the one who is doing the decor, the new decor for Vice President office, for State House, State houses need to be renovated. You know, these are the things which are eating the money, not even salaries. Salaries are very at a drop in the ocean, let me tell you. And you know why I'm saying this is because as much as people look at salaries as recurrent expenditure, salaries are actually something which amount of money which enters back into the economy. Well, if I'm an employee now and I'm getting paid, regardless of whether I'm a CAS or I'm a messenger, that money, I will put it back into the economy. I'll buy sukuma wiki at the end of the day, I'll buy milk for my child, I'll buy books, I'll buy this. But problem is this kind of recurrent expenditures which you buy a new fleet of money, I mean fleet of vehicles at inflated prices, then you take that money and take it to the Cayman Islands. If you are like Omangi, you make that money, you remove it, you take it to an offshore account. So it sits there and the government of that country, Switzerland and wherever, they're taxing that money, they're making money out of that money. It's not benefiting Kenyans. So that is where the real problem is. But to me, I will not even talk about salaries. Me, I would just say, how can we deal with this debt? Because it is untenable to be, it's untenable to be having that kind of a high percentage of debt expected, you know, which we're expected to pay. It's just untenable because you see, it's like you're earning 100,000, then you are being deducted 80K. Now, can you explain to me how sustainable that is in the long run? And then to make matters worse, we have then not stopped borrowing. We are still continuing, again, escalating our borrowing. We had a ceiling which we are not supposed to pass in terms of taking loans, which was 11 trillion. But of course, that one was disregarded, it was thrown out of the window. So we're continuing to borrow day after day. Sometimes we are taking collateral with our national assets, like land and the like. Somebody gives you a loan or a grant, and then you give them a lease of 99 years of public land. As you're giving them that lease, your tenure there, the highest number of years you can be there is 14 years. So how can you give a tenure, how can you give a lease of 99 years and that your tenure is only 15 years? Those are the kind of things which are bringing problems. The real things which are bringing, and other things, unnecessary wastage, because you see, it doesn't make any sense when you tell the public sector that we are having austerity measures, so we are not going to make diaries, we are not going to make calendars, like as far as I'm aware, that's the situation. If you're making a strategic plan, make it for yourself. Don't get an expert because you don't have money to pay. Fine. But how much money is going to a calendar? And as I'm telling you, that these activities, they do feed the economy. Because if an expert is going to do for you your strategic plan, you know, money is moving, you know, in the economy. Yeah, you'll pay him, then he'll go and buy something, and like that, the money will move. And an economy is an ecosystem. We need the money to be moving. And the problem right now, which all Kenyans are complaining, is that there's no movement of money. Even the time when we were having Moi was a very toxic kind of a leader, he was making sure at least there was circulation of money. There was some circulation of money. But what we're having now are people who have decided that they're going to lift the country to the maximum and then take all that money offshore, leaving us here without any money to go around in the economy or in the marketplace. Telling people that you cannot have calendars and the austerity measures, and meanwhile you are taking entourages of people for unnecessary trips all over the world, does not make sense. You see, this is the problem of this government. It's all about PR, that we have had, yes, uchumi ni ngumu, we'll fold our whatever, our sleeves now, kila mtu afunge mshipi. Sasa kila mtu afunge mshipi, mtu wa calendar, mtu mwenye ange supply calendar ile pesa yenye angepata hapo, which could have helped him and others, is the one mnafunga mshipi. But when it comes to other stupid things over here, you're all over the place with your entourage over there, and you are paying them night out. Sasa, some of these things really, you really wonder, what does this guy take us for? Yeah, tumekaza mshipi. Unajua Kenyans lazima tukaze mshipi. Immediately ametoka kufanya hivyo, amepanda ndege na watu 50. And they are not going for free, and they are not going on their own coin. All those people, they have to be paid night out. And if it's a chartered, I don't know, they have their own big plane or they use chartered plane, I don't know. Whatever the case, and when they go there, they are still going to be paid for meals, they're going to be paid for accommodation, which is very expensive. We can't afford it as a country. As a country which has when you're earning 100K and you are paying 80K as debt repayment. Are you really in a position to be taking trips all over the world with your entourage, with your friends? You take 50 friends, mnaenda nao Diani, or mnaenda nao Mauritius. So the problem is not the issue of the bloated workforce. This workforce can work. The real issue is how are we going to deal with debt, and beyond dealing with the debt, can we stop escalating? We are already in a hole. Can we stop digging further? Because is on a borrowing spree. He's borrowing left, right, and center. Anybody who can give him money, he's just taking. But those things, they'll come back to haunt us much later when he's not even in the seat. Because those people, they are normally the first few years when they lend you the money, they just say, you just pay, or they give you grace period, or they tell you just pay the interest. Then after that, now they become like Shylock. They want their money back. And if you don't give back that money, it's going to be another story, like what happened in Mozambique, where they won't even take their port. And they can see they have the Nini muscle, the army muscle. They can take it. If they said you have refused to pay us our money, we can as well take Mombasa to be a port. Na kuna mali mtawapeleka. So we need serious people to be in the government, and I don't think that a character like Mbadi is the right person to be on that seat, considering the kind of dire situation that we are in. We're in a ship which is sinking, and then you are giving us a very mediocre person, just to please your coalition partners, broad-based government. If there is any docket that needs a very serious person, it is finance, because Kenya, by the way, we are sinking very fast. The rate at which we are sinking is not normal. We are sinking very fast. Back to you in the studio.
Haya basi, ladies and gentlemen, of course, just to remind you that Home Run is supported by you. Ingia pale veju kwenye Tipja line 0721948229 is the number.
Ladies and gentlemen, join Home Run with PP every weekday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. only on X Spaces. Home Run with PP, the home of your most valuable social conversation.
Ukisikia tunaongelea story ya sijui Tipja line au sijui inaenda kuchukua holiday fupi, ni kwa sababu guys, I have called myself for a very short meeting and I'm seeing myself giving up on this very good dream of Home Run with PP. Na kisa na mkasa ni kwamba for the past like 4 months pale hivi kwenye Tipja imekuwa ni mambo ya kuona vumbi peke yake. Na unajua ni kusema kwamba nini? Ni kwamba mambo imeendelea kukua ngumu kwa hali ya Wakenya. Unajua, because this show has been supported by the generous listeners kutoka tuanze mpaka saa hizi. And I can tell you, the deeper we get into this regime, the harder it gets for us to even sustain these projects that we are having here to keep our shows running and all. So na inajua sasa mimi ni mtu mwenye sina pesa ya NGO na nafikiria mtu mwenye alikuwa amezoea pesa ya NGO venye ana feel. So anyway, the high cost of living, the economy inaendelea kupanda. Nimeenda supermarket sahii, I think nilirealize kwamba unga imepanda mpaka ilikuwa 100, sahii imefika 150. Let's see how it goes as we get into the farming. Yeah, huko tukifika May, I think tutakuwa tumerudi tena kununua unga ugali 180, 2 kg bag. So mafuta pia nayo nimeona imepanda guy. 2 liters is going about 6 to 500 average 2 liters. So tuseme a liter of oil is retailing at 300 shillings right now. So kama ukitaka kufanya shopping ya sukari ni 350 ama 400. Shopping ya 1000 shillings venye ulikuwa unasikia Bionic anasema that shopping yenye ulikuwa unafanya unasukuma sasa unabeba. Sasa 1000 bob you can't buy oil, sugar and flour. They used to do because flour is 150, oil 2 liters is 600. Alafu nini? Sabuni ni 300 ama 280. Yes. So that is the reality of our economy right now. It is, and you know the worst part of it is, where is the money? The money is not circulating. Kuna watu wenye wako na pesa ndio, and I really want to know you. Kama wewe kuna Jona na mtu pale hivi mwenye ako na pesa, ni connect na yeye basi. Hata mimi nionje hizo pesa because na alafu kuna watu wenye sasa sisi tunawasindikiza wenye mna pesa. You know, even see people go for events and unaenda events leo, kesho kwa event ingine, kesho kuto kwa event. I'm like, how does this person manage to get rent at the end of the month? Kwa sababu mimi nikienda event moja nakuwa disoriented for the whole month. No, yani hata nashindwa kulipa bills. That is the reality of many Kenyans. That way, wengi hawana hiyo inaitwa aje, luxury spending. There is nothing luxury right now. It's kuishi from hand to mouth and make sure you're using them for the basics. Yeah, because this event unaweza ingia event wana charge 4000 hapo hujachukua drink, and of course hukuenda peke yako. Unaona, fare ndio hiyo inakuandama before you even see far, you're in deep trouble. So mine is just to remind you that wherever you can spare anything, drop into that tip the line to help us maintain our studio. Of course kuhakikisha kwamba hatufungiwi mlango. Umesikia kwenye narudi ni Hispania. Hispania is on the border of Kenya and Tanzania bwana. Good boy. Naona mkono yako iko juu.
Peter,
Do you have a rebuttal?
yes. Partially, and some a question, maybe someone who can help us here. Okay,
Yes.
the last speaker said something about the. Can you hear me? All right. So, okay, at some point I agree with the last speaker regarding the national debt that we have. Though, as at current, I'm not sure how much we have, how much the national debt has reached in terms of the borrowing. Kenya borrowing from other nations, so or other international institutions. So one question I would ask anyone maybe who can maybe assist, if maybe you have a clue or something. If the question goes like this: the national debt currently, as I said, I don't know how much we've reached, but if we do an audit, a proper audit, right from, as I said earlier, right from the Kenyatta regime, if that is, it could be possible, right from his regime, Kenyatta Senior, until the current where we are right now, the current date and day and time, would that amount of money, that the audit, that means the money, the kickbacks, the money stolen, the mismanagement, etc., would that money be equal, or will it be less, or would it be second to the national debt, or would it have surpassed the national debt as at current? That's the question that I wanted to pose to anyone who's willing to, take it up. Thank you.
All right. We have Mzalendo and John Selemani. I know they are going to jump onto that. Mzalendo.
Thank you so much, Peter. I'm grateful to speak on this topic. So I want to give two scenarios. How do we mitigate our cost of living? One of the ways to mitigate cost of living is taking advantage of discounts in the supermarket. But I want to put Kenyans into notice. I work for a company that we deal with foodstuffs. Peter, can you imagine? Last week we had auditors from KEBS. So auditors from KEBS came to our company, and then there was a certain product I will not mention that failed the KEBS test. Can you imagine the officers from KEBS telling my manager ya kwamba let us approve this, mpeleke supermarket, muuze at discounted price. So I was like, kumaanisha hizi vitu nakuaga na buy super ziko discounted, zinakuaga mbaya. But my boss told them no. Kama imeharibika, mumekataa ku approve, me I'm not paying anybody to approve this product, because actually supposed to go for those discounts. But now this officer from KEBS wants my boss to pay him ili hiyo product iwekwe alama ya KEBS, iende market ikauziwa wa Kenya, and it was actually a bad product. But my manager finally made a decision ya kwamba hapana, because tuko na kampuni inatengeneza products za ng'ombe, nguruwe, wacha tupeleke huko, tusipeleke wanadamu vitu mbaya supermarket. So hiyo kitu imekuwa ikinisumbua sana. If I am to mitigate the cost of living by buying a discounted product, but now our officer wa KEBS, because hata wao wako na njaa because of the cost of living, and Makiu, the guy was requesting for 50,000, si hata pesa mingi. The guy was requesting for 50K. Approved product iende iuziwe wa Kenya, ikawaumize na ajali. Secondly, the other way to mitigate cost of living ni kuinvest in your skills. Unachukua skills zako, una invest on your skills. But now, how much money does a Kenyan now require to invest on their skills? Ukijaribu kufanya content creation, Kasongo wants to tax you. Me, I invested on beauty and therapy. I'm almost closing my shop because things are not working. Employees wanataka walipwe. Every day ukirudi market, bei ya vitu zimepanda. So I think the only thing we need to do for us to mitigate the cost of living, tunaanza kule juu, na mtu tutaanza naye huko juu ni Kasongo. Kasongo just has to go. Whether Kahiriri likes it or not, we will continue singing Kasongo must go, because he is the cause of the high cost of living. Why am I saying this? I was looking at my gallery today, and I realized the last time I was in Mombasa for a retreat was in May of 2022. I was in Mombasa last in May 2022. Ever since this guy took power, nimeshindwa kujipeleka Mombasa kujitreat. Sababu gani? Amechukua zile pesa nilikuwa ninazienda nazo Mombasa, ameziconfine zote, anazikula, mara siji housing levy, mara what. So I think the best way for Kenyans to mitigate the cost of living is Ruto must go. That is the only way. So even as we plan with the little that he has left us with, as we plan with the little ametubakisha nayo, let's keep on pushing. He has to go. That is the only thing. He has to go. He has to. That is the only thing. If he doesn't go, I promise you Kenyans that the cost of living is going to be higher. It's going to skyrocket. It's going to get to the highest level that it has never. So if we venye huwa mimi ninamaliza kama wa Kenya, if we continue to behave normally, William Ruto will treat us abnormally. We just have to ensure this man goes, because if he doesn't go, I rest assure you, the cost of living will skyrocket higher and higher and higher. So for you not to close your side hustle, Ruto must go. For you not to buy a bad product in the supermarket in the name of discount, Ruto has to go. For you to save so that you can take your children to school tomorrow, Ruto must go. For you to feed your family, Ruto must go. That is the only thing. And the song has to continue. Whether Kairiri or Nurdin Haji likes it, he has to go. Thank you so much.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome, Home Run with Pippi.
Ladies and gentlemen, nimeona hapa video fulani inanifurahisha sana, acha tuniache. So tumefika mahali ningependa tu kuongea kuhusu our wage bill, that our civil service eats up 55% or thereabout of our GDP. I'll be giving you statistics shortly on that. I see Malia Miram Konoju, but I want to go to John Seremani first, so that I can hear new voices, and then I'll go to Malia then shortly afterwards. Johnny, how are you doing?
Poa sana Peter. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Safi sana. Nice to be here and also to see familiar faces. I'm wondering, first of all, let me make a comment on the wage bill. I firmly believe that hata ikiwa inakaa hivyo, if we did everything else that needs to be done, things like dealing with corruption, we could even sustain a bizarre wage bill such as that one. So, but I'll come back to that. Let me go to the question that was asked earlier. I can't remember who it was. I think, was it Mzalendo or Good Boy? The question about if you look at was it the money that we borrowed since independence, whether it compares to the money that has been stolen. Because we really don't have the debt audit, and we can't really tell, we can't even have a picture of either. It will be difficult to say. But of course, some of the money has been used in a few projects here and there or misused. But still, I would venture to imagine, I'm just conjecturing, that yeah, of course, a lot of it has been stolen. If you remember the Muturi, was it called the Muturi tapes? You know, there was a grant of how much was it? $1 billion by some Russian oligarchs, sijui nini, na walikuwa hawataki kuipitisha kwa account official ya gava ile yenye inaweza chunguliwa na control of budget. So it was definitely slated for being stolen. So of course, a lot that has been donated or granted or borrowed, pesa mingi imepotelea hivyo. But Peter, allow me to just give my initial remark on this topic. You know, there's about cost of living. Squeezy, we talk a lot about cost of living, and it's so unfortunate because there's a lack of economic education with the common people, because if there was sijui kama wasee wangeweza kujitoa kwa streets. Well, you know, unfortunately in Kenya, government controls a lot of everything, which puts a stranglehold on the economy. For example, let me give you an example. Imagine someone is amedrown hapo kwa beach, kwa maji, amedrown hivi, mmemvuta, and then the beach boy, instead of simply administering some kind of CPR, he's doing that while at the same time choking the person. So they're cancelling out the very action they're trying to do. And this is what Mbadi is doing with all the economic English. That's really just what he's doing to the economy. That's what this government is doing to the economy. Because you can't levy inordinate amount of taxes, and then at the same time you borrow heavily locally. You can't just do that, because how do you expect people with small businesses to access credit when they go to the bank? Because unajua sasa vile government borrow from local banks, it's such that you go there and they're not interested in giving you a loan. Why? They have a better customer. Yenye iko sure. Okay, you borrow heavily locally, and then that money that you borrow heavily locally, a lot of our debt is local debt, by the way. That money that you borrow, unaenda unasquander, you go use it on useless things, like I think Malia talked about 50 people, all people moving around in choppers. You go and live in luxury with that money that you borrowed locally. A lot of it, you take it outside and stash it outside. That money, and then it's borrowing in the name of the sovereign people. Then you now go and tax those same people who you've locked out of accessing cheap credit from their own banks. So now you go and go to them and you slap all manner of taxes on them. And Angoja finance bill, because it's the same madness year in, year out from Uhuru's time. This is not even just about Ruto. This is from the moment they amended the Public Finance Management Act. Ujinga ikaanza. They started like administering CPR while strangling the victim at the same time. So it doesn't make sense, because the same people you're overtaxing, they don't have access to credit to start or sustain or grow their businesses. So how are they going to pay those taxes? So after a while, we revert to agrarianism. I've seen engineers close shop. I've seen like professional servicemen in various industries, people closing down their practices, sending everybody home. Mjamaa anaenda kwa shamba, anakuwa mkulima, because at least there atakula, and maybe he can sell off a few things, every time he harvests. And we are regressing as a society into some kind of medieval economy, because you're going to have a very few people at there's a complete destruction of the middle class. So hata wenye wako middle class sahi, mostly it's people who deal in imports. Doctors are having a hard time, or lawyers watafikiwa tu, and it's going to go on like that, because it's going to be unsustainable. So, and that's really what drives up the cost of living. It's not necessarily ati ni kazi ya government kushukisha bei ya unga. No, economics doesn't work like that. So as I prepare to learn, let me just say, it's supposed to be left to the free market to regulate itself, while the government remains as a fair referee, kuangalia ni nani anajaribu ukora. Lakini sasa kama referee mwenyewe ndo mkora, and that's where you're going to find a country where most of the millionaires and billionaires are people involved in government. And so the government is hoarding a lot of the money, a lot of the economic circulation that should be happening, rather than letting it go and let the creative genius of Kenyans to produce an economic miracle. I don't care what Mbadi says. All I want is Mbadi to get this government out of the economy, and then waache kutunyonga hapo kwa bank loans. So Pipita, thank you. I'm around. I'll come back. Cheers.
All right. Thank you so much, John Seremani, for that submission. I see Malia Davis and Noam Konoju. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Home Run with PP. We happen to you each and every weekday from 4 p.m. all the way to 9 East African. Yeah, I see the one and only Malia. Talk to us, and of course, request the microphone and talk to us on matters economics. And remember, today also we have a new video on our YouTube channel HRWP featuring Wakili Waigwa. You're talking about divorce and of course knowing your rights as a citizen, including bonds as well. So tune in to that conversation after the show and also listen to that on YouTube. And also, I would like just to remind you that Home Run PP is supported by the listener. 0721948229 is the number where you drop in your support. Kindly do that to help us keep the lights going. Malia.
Thank you, Pipita. I wanted to go back to the point of the guy who was talking about caps. And what I can tell Kenyans without fear of contradiction is that nowadays what we used to call caps is nothing but a money minting operation, a corrupt organization. They don't even care what is in these products which they are putting out in the market. Them all what they want to go out there and make money, just like every other institution. Every other government institution, the number one priority is not even the safety of the citizens anymore. It is about, when I go to this job as an inspector, how much can I make? That is all what it is. So what I can tell Kenyans is that whether the product is discounted or it's not discounted, what we are now consuming with those kept stickers, we are not even sure what it is that we are consuming anymore. That is where we have reached. We don't know one way or another. I remember one time that we have water dispensers in our offices, and of course they have the kept sticker. And at one point we were brought for water, which is hard water, like salty water, like from borehole or something. And the water had the kept sticker very well. And we have been hearing all these stories from the mercury in the sugar. Of course, we know currently sugar is being imported from I don't know which country. Is it Brazil or wherever? And I'm even highly doubting whether the grade which is being imported is the best. Probably it's the one they want to dump. Is the one now they are sending to Kenya here. The same, we saw an expose on meat products which are being sold in the supermarket, whereby they are being put some funny medication so that some chemicals so that they can remain looking very fresh even after 5 or 7 days. So Kenyans, actually, I don't know if you're going to do, but this issue of quality control in this country is getting out of hand. Currently now, those of us who are ladies here, we know that you cannot go to the salon without your own products. You have to go to the and not just to any shop, but you have to go to some particular shops which are known that they sell genuine quality products, as much as they are more expensive, but they are known that these are shops that sells genuine products, like Super Cosmetics, Sterling Cosmetics, and others, among others. If you don't go to those shops and you go to another shop, which may be cheaper, sometimes even it's not cheaper, it's just about the same price, but there's a lot of counterfeits in the Kenyan market. So even you as a lady, when you're going to make your hair, you don't even want to use the products which you are finding in the salon. You want to go to specific shops like those ones I've told you, pick whatever it is that you're going to use, go with them to the salon, let the salonist use those on your hair, you know, because so many funny things have been happening whereby you find the salonist is mixing different things and putting it in a bottle of a particular product, you know. Other times they are diluting it with water so that it can last longer. You know, ukora yenye iko Kenya, it's just on another level there which you cannot even understand. Even, can you imagine that, Pipita, I went somewhere, is it in the course of last week or so, I went to buy a chapati. Sasa, because the person has seen that I'm buying the chapati as a takeaway, I'm not eating it there, so he's making sure he gets for me the worst chapati yenye imechomeka. So that's the level of impunity which is in this country. And I think we need to revive. There used to be a federation of Kenyan consumers, whereby they would lobby for Kenyan consumers to get the best product. And even they would file suits against anybody who is trying to take advantage of Kenyans in terms of consumer goods. Because right now, we don't know, you know, and as you have been hearing very well of the high cases of cancer, even among very young people, because we don't even understand what we are eating. We could be eating anything. The other day it was ketchup, which we are being told, I don't know, it's expired. I don't know it was from where. So you really have to ask yourself, what is the point of all these KEBS and all these other regulatory bodies if they are the ones who are being bribed? You can hear from the person who spoke. He didn't even want to give the guy a bribe. The guy is the one who is asking him for a bribe and telling him that, well, usijali, tunaweza pitisha hii kitu, well, later to 50K. Those are the people who are custodians of our health. Can you imagine? So I believe that institution which used to be there, and I saw that they really helped. There was a time when City Council was trying to exponentially add the land rates, and the Federation of Nairobi residents came up and even went to court and filed a court case, and that issue was dropped. So I think where we have reached now in Kenya, we need citizen participation, we need citizen lobby groups. That is what is going to help us, because these so-called governmental organizations, they're just there to mint money. They don't care about our health, they don't care about anything other than their pockets. Thank you, Peter.
All right. Thank you, Malia Davis, of course. I see we have Evans. Evans said he wants to be an MP. You know, hizi vitu tunasikianga tu chini ya maji. I'd like to hear what they have to say, especially when it comes to economical transformation, because that one directly affects us, you know. So I'd like to hear what he has to say on that, Bwana Evans, and also our wasikilizaji wengine, of course. Namwona Alkebula enough. How are you doing, Albasai? It's been a minute. Nakuona pale hivi Diamonds, big up to you. Mushira Dol Jen, nakuona pale ndani. David Mkware, big up to you. Tabs, nani mwingine namwona pale Contra nani mwingine nasalimia Dr. Mofo, African Queen, big up to you as well. Betty Jerry, shout out to you. Tamasha, shout out to you. Bionic, how are you doing? Naona mkono uko juu.
Yeah, I wanted to share some info with Malia that she brought up these products, especially women's products. If you have a daughter, or if you know of a sister, or if you have a sister who uses, or a wife or a girlfriend who uses additions, or in Kenya we call them braids, or human hair, before you put those things on your hair, or before you put additions on your hair, please wash them with vinegar, because according to research, this braids or these additions have a ton of chemicals on them, and these chemicals get transferred onto our skin, onto our scalp, when we use those additions of those braids, or human hair is even worse, and that's a whole story of its own. But if you're going to add hair onto your existing hair to braid it, please wash them. I know it's a extra hassle, but it'll save you from getting skin cancer and other cancers that are associated with women's reproductive organs. This is something that's being fought in court here right now. So kindly, for your own health or your child's health or your sister, your mom, the woman that you know in your life, advise them to wash those products with the vinegar especially before using them. Thanks.
Asante sana Bionic for that. Of course we will give you a chance to talk to us. Naona pale Western tumesema ukuja utusalimia, utaki jamani. Full big up to you David, Joshua. Acha nisome comment ingine moja hapa hivi. Naona Okia Mtata says our debt from when Kibaki left was 2.7 trillion. Right now we are at 12 trillion. That spike has happened under Jubilee and Kenya Kwanza. And it's true. Our debt imepanda in 10 trillion in 10 years. In 15 years tuko sahi tunaelekea tunaenda kufika 15 trillion in 15 trillion shillings. And bado unatembea kwa barabara za Kenya unapata kuna places zenye haziko carpeted. Ah man, it's crazy. Yeah, so I'd like to maybe hear what else you have in mind. I see Good Boy is here with us as well. Good Boy.
Yeah, I'll touch a bit on the health aspect. Yesterday there was if you watched was it NTV or yeah, I think NTV, there was a feature regarding I think lung cancer and I think there's another cancer. They were featuring people getting this type of cancer through, so they were not sure, even the doctors were asked, is it can it be directly linked to the chemicals being sprayed on the, the pesticides, the herbicides, etc., on the food stuff that we grow in our farms. But the doctor said it can't be directly linked, but there are some, you see, there's also another documentary that was done regarding the meat and the food in supermarkets like Tuskys. I think they also featured Naivas, whereby there's some meat. They asked, when this meat remains, where does it go? Do you like every day have fresh meat, or do you like sort of in quotes recycle? They were saying, of course, we have fresh meat daily and all that, but of course there are inner people who are exposing how these things were being preserved by some chemicals, etc. So that's when people opened their eyes. That's when people's eyes were opened. Normally, when some beef, a normal meat or beef product, you will find, house flies, going around it, landing on it, playing around with that particular meat. But you couldn't find such on the meat on those particular supermarkets, having house flies and all that. And that's when people's eyes were opened that we were eating meat that has been, preserved by some chemicals. And these chemicals are very dangerous because if meat that has gone bad or sort of expiry date has reached, and then it is preserved by a chemical for some, even a week, that means that chemical is very strong and can actually corrode your lungs or whatever organs in your body, and also cause some cancer. The sprays that there's a chemical that is usually exported, but imported, but it has been banned in the European countries. But in Kenya, it's being imported. I can't remember the name. I think this legislator for was engaged with this lady. I can't remember her name. The woman for was in Gishu, wanted to bring. If she brought it on in Parliament. There's a bill that she wanted to bring in Parliament to ban the import of these chemicals to be used as herbicides and pesticides in our farms. But I don't know how it ended. But that was the talk at that time, and it fizzled out. Yeah, so I wanted to touch on that. Now, regarding the economy, Peter, there's something called saving, and this who is called Mutua. Mutua wants to bring a bill in Parliament. Wants to bring a bill basically to introduce it so that it can be a law for people to save. He wants to bring a law for people to save. That's how it is. So I asked myself, how can you legislate people to save in these times where even the salary cannot even, sustain you cannot basically enjoy your salary. You cannot look forward to the end of the month because the salary will be cut by a bigger chunk. A bigger chunk will be cut from your salary. Apart from that, there's some things that Pipita, they need to be nurtured right from they need to be introduced in the syllabus. Things like saving, things like planting trees, things like, caring for the environment, simple things, daily lives, things that involve daily lives. They don't need to be put as laws. They don't need to be legislated. They just need to be put like in a syllabus so that from your childhood, that planting trees, cleaning your environment, etc. during the weekend, saving, such things are very basic. You don't need to introduce them as law. You just need to put them in a syllabus. Things like first aid, you need to put them in a syllabus. Basic things like those. So I was wondering why is he putting wants to introduce it as a law, and at the same time also on the other side you see that the salaries are shrinking, the pay slips are shrinking day by day. Consider, even if you consider the finance bill 2025 that's coming up, I'm very sure they'll touch the NSSF and they'll touch other things which will further shrink the pay slip. There's one thing, let me finish with this one thing. It's very ridiculous, so humorous. So there's a friend of mine who was applying for a job, and he wanted me to help him come up with a resume, and then he could print it and then drop it somewhere. So of course, with the AI tools, I tried to help him, and then when it reached to the place of salary, he asked me, what amount do I put as salary in this role? What I did, because all those deductions currently, before, way back in the times of NSSF, NHIF, and all that, way back those days, you could easily, calculate in your mind and then first, know how much you'll earn as net salary. But right now, I had to go and, online and do a proper calculation so that this guy can be able to get a net salary that he won't be, he won't feel that pressure of those deductions, being deducted from his payslip. So yeah, so basically we are in a bad time, and also it's not about Ruto. We can remove him. Yeah, we can remove him basically, but whom will we bring to undo all these bad things or these vices that have been, these negative things that have been done? Whom can do this? Because you can remove him, yes, successfully, which can be good. However, whom will you bring? Whom do you have in mind? Whom can you bring can undo these things and be able to, return the economy at a very, good position where people can be able to open businesses, people can be able to pay taxes voluntarily. People can be able to say, indeed, I have money in my pocket. You can call someone, help me with this amount. They can say, okay, let me check in my account. Let me send you this amount. You see? Yeah, so that's way, Pipita. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, good boy, for that. It's 11 minutes past 7, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on my Investment Mondays for Home Run with PP, and we're trying to understand how do we mitigate high cost of living. You might not be in the country, but you have a family member who you are supporting, probably paying school fees or even supporting a sickly parent or just a retired parent who you send money at the end of the month. You might have noticed that the charges or the money has gone up because of various taxes going up. So I see Alkebulan is here with us. Mambo vipi Alkebulan?
Hi Pipi. Aki nimekuwa
Mambo.
kwa listener panel for months.
Shida ni gani?
Lakini ndio huyu mimi niko sasa hapo kwa topic. Naweza kuongelelea expenditure ya government because I was a civil servant at some point for a few years at the revenues. Na kwa ofisi ya revenue sisi ndio tulikuwa wale food soldiers officers, but I can tell you in a full office inaweza kuwa na officers kama 4, supervisor, assistant manager hadi hiyo top point, hadi hiyo top slot, but then unapata watu kama managers, they report on the revenues that have been collected by officers. So hao wengine katikati mostly wananga revenue. So unapata recurrent expenditure iko based unalipa watu kama kama half of the people who are paid by the government wanaripotiana, unaona, which is so inefficient because unapata kazi mtu mmoja anafanyishwa kazi ya kureport to another person and then to another person. It can go direct to the top ama to the president, but then according to the culture of Kenyans watu wakipata opportunity ya kukulia wanakulianga tu. So it's all about our culture. That is why somebody said that wewe business yako is a reflection on who you are. So government yetu ndio business yao ni revenue ya wananchi. So it just reflects on what kind of people we are. Sisi ni watu wa kukuliana. Unaona, mtu akipata opportunity ya kukulia mwingine anakulia, of which tungekuwa na hiyo nature ya kukua efficient, sidhani kama vitu zingekuwa zinafanyika hivyo Kenya, because hata government ingekuwa inaangalia how can we help business people to be efficient so that we can collect more revenue, but no, hao wanataka kukulia tu on the little that is being produced by. So what ni very few ndio wana support economy, na hao ndio wenye wana suffer, hao ndio wenye tunaua polepole, unaona. Okay, siko hapo sahi I'm not a civil servant, but hao ndio wenye unapata gava inaua polepole, but then imefika point yenye the small businesses are suffering too much to the point that hata zingine zinafungwa. Mimi nilikuwa na biashara nikafunga, na niliwaambianga ya chipo haingeweza na hii economy vile iko juu. Unapata hata ukikuwa na biashara ya chipo unafaa kuwa na food handling fees, unafaa kuwa na fire management fees, unafaa kuwa na sasa license yenyewe ya biashara, and then apart from hiyo base ya raw materials zilikuwa zinapanda all the time. Unapata waru imepanda, mafuta imepanda, hata by the end of the day a business person hana a lot to give to the government, not just to the government, even to himself or herself. So it's just our culture which we need to change. I hope vitu zita change such that we become more efficient, ile yenye mtu anaweza kuwa willing kufanya more work kupata more results rather than kwa ile mentality ya kukulia. Ndio kukulia sio business, by the way. hiyo pesa yenye mtu anapatanga ya kukulia from another person, that's not business. Business is actually generating income but your environment has to be a business environment. Hii middleman thing haikuangi biashara. Hiyo biashara ya middleman, sijui kama kuna mtu ako na a right word for it ama I hope Western atakuja kwa speaker panel atuelezee, but hii kitu ya kukulia hii ya kukua middleman haikuangi biashara. Biashara is always making a product and sell it and earning it. If you are salesperson in between, it has to be as little as possible for you to maximize on your profits. Na kama itakuwa as little as possible, that is where efficiency comes in that when you are doing a business, you know what to do, the right tools, the right place kupata raw materials, and this culture can be viewed even in our town areas. CBD, unapata CBD, hakuna mtu mwenye akona product yake original. Duka kama 5 zinaweza kuwa zinauza the same product, and then au hawkers wako hapo mbele ni the same product wanauza. By the end of the day, the one who is earning is the producer of that product, not a middleman. Huyo mwenye anapata big profits ni kama sasa China ndio wana get the main profit. But if you have more business people who are able to create the product from the raw materials na wauze, that is even better, because I've seen that a lot in Europe, sana because I've been in Europe, because unapata kama mnafanya competition, you're competing beside another person's product which they produce from the raw material directly. Kila mtu akona formula yake ama maybe kila mtu akona hiyo formula yake yenye ni secret. So ukipata kama mtu anatengeneza vitu kama mlango na raw material, hauwezi pata the next person anatumia the same raw materials kutengeneza. They all have different designs. So mna compete between designs, lakini sio middlemen wana compete. Hii middlemen ndio inatuharibia economy. Na if you can have more innovators na wakwe supported by the government, that is how we are going to grow the economy. See middlemen. But if someone has a greater way of explaining this, please come to the speaker panel. Tusiogope Pipita. Pipita ni mtu mzuri. Aya, thanks Pipita.
Naona John Seremani ameinua mkono juu. Thank you so much Alkebulan for that submission. Nataka pia utusikie pia kwa kina Betty, namwona pale hivi ndani, namwona Dr. Mofo African Queen. Request the microphone and talk to us as well. What are your thoughts on our economy? Kila mtu hapa hivi ana affected na economy in one way or the other. If you're driving, you're fueling. If you're commuting, unalipa fare. Maisha haina kona mingi. So we are all feeling it. John Seremani.
Yeah, Peter, I just wanted to add strength to what Alkeblan was saying. Kwamba economy yetu, actually I call it a mitumba economy. That's what I call it. Juu for some mitumba, as many as they are and as hard as they work to sell us those things, they don't actually produce those things. And it's an example of where we are. We are not a producer. Peter, do you know we don't produce our own underwear? I don't know if you knew that. We don't produce our own underwear. If Kenya is unaona vile Trump ameleta tariffs, ama tuseme for example tukiekewa naitwaje, tukifungiwa trade, will we run out of underwear, Peter? Because that's the reality. We don't produce our own underwear. We don't even produce many of our toothpicks. There are many things we used to produce, but now we don't. And what is the reason for this? It's a systematic destruction of the productive power. So first of all, let me say, there is no access to credit because government has crowded out businesses, the private sector, from accessing cheap credit. Okay. Ya pili, there is heavy taxation. And in that I include easy historial licenses because they are all forms of taxes, all of them. There is heavy taxation on businesses and on individuals. So you can't really begin something and sustain. Alafu unapata kwamba we what happens during that situation is most people are going to move to become middlemen. Itakuwa sasa the flourishing businesses in Tao ni za kuuza laptops, but Kenya does not produce laptops. Mtu ako na kuzo wake sijui UK ama wapi, ndo anamtafutia madeals, anakuja anauza. Kama ni nguo, the same thing. Maybe I know someone from Turkey ananitafutia story ya masuti or getting appliances from China. So we become net importers. There's nothing we produce. At the same time, the very little that we produce, which is like now agricultural things like tea, like coffee, tena huko cartels wanaingia wanavuruga. And when I hope you know, when we say cartels, we are mostly talking about people who have government connections or government people themselves. So it's a society that is eating itself. And I'm telling you, by the way, hii kitu italipuka. Hata wachana na the revolution ya last year. Like this thing cannot be sustained because economics is a description of human nature. And there are only two realities: prosperity ama hiyo ingine. Na hiyo ingine, you see, once you start violating the laws of nature, you eventually get to that second option, which is not a very beautiful one. So itafika point where mtu anafungua kinyozi inafunga because he can't sustain it. Haya, anaanza kunini, anajaribu ku do, like tries so many kinds of businesses, they fail. Haya basi anaingia mitumba economy, anakuwa anazunguka na socks na boxers zenye mzungu alivaa sijui miaka ngapi, zikaoshwa zikaletwa. So it's so unfortunate that even the people who get to steal the money, they're not. I'm not saying that kuiba ni mzuri, lakini hata wao wenyewe they don't have good ideas. Yani ni wajinga wapungufu. Like yani it's amazing how we are still alive as a country. It's amazing. Mimi nasema tu ni Mungu juu the kind of sickness that we have in how we do our things. Yeah. I can't really even I can't even properly express it. So ningependa tu kusema kwamba that it's something that has been building up over time and we have to change. Sorry about that. I believe there's someone talking. Oh, so I was simply saying we have to change both how we do our government or governance and also just let people flourish. That's the best thing on earth. Kama sahi Peter, imagine this. Think about this. Because cost of living, it's an indicator. It's not supposed to be the main thing, but it's an indicator of where we are, although we've made it into a main thing. Imagine, Peter, if you could go to your bank, na uambie ni aje, I need $500,000 ni expand studio. Like I turned this home run with Peter into a magnificent podcast, and you give them your business idea, your business plan, and they're able to look at it and say, okay, so we'll give you that. Here is the loan, the payment, etc., etc. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But Peter, jaribu leo, just go to a bank and ask for that money. They will laugh you out of that bank because there's no way that you can even be a more worthy customer than the government itself. So hapo tu ndo kuna shida hapo. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say. Nilikuwa tu nataka kuunga nani anaitwaje Alkebila mkono. Asante.
Ukweli unasema ukweli hivi. Sasa nikaenda kuambia wanipatie loan, wanaweza niuliza uko na mshahara gani? M-Pesa balance yako? Haya. Nani anasema Japonja anasema have you noticed that when you are broke you think properly? Ndio ninashangaa mbona siku hizi ninafikiria hivyo sana. Kumbe it's the brokenness. Mnakuwa na majambo sana. What else is there? I was watching someone say that the US houses have a way of stopping this market crash from being worse. Uh, let's wait and see, even if by design alikuwa anasema, because the market is crashing, it's on a free fall, you know. The Japanese market inaenda na -8. That is a lot in terms of finance, you know, even mathematics in terms of value lost. Yes, so ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Home Run with PP. I'll be taking a short break later on this week. We'll be back again when you see me back. So msishangae ninaenda wapi. But anyway, yote 9-10 ni kwamba according to CBK data, Kenya's money supply is growing at the slowest pace in 24 years. That means less money is moving through the economy. People aren't spending, business are stalling, and squeeze is being felt everywhere. Let me ask somebody, let me go with Good Boy. Good Boy, kwa wale watu wenye wako kwa sako yako and also maybe from what you see, have you seen a change in the patterns of spending? Because that I mean kama ni kitu yenye nimenotice of late. Have you seen a change in the patterns of spending?
I hate to sound pessimistic, or I hate to sound like critical time things, spending actually right from my household, not even going to my circles, right from my household. They are that back then in 2022, 21, let's say between 2019 and 2021, there's some stuff when I used to go to the supermarket. We usually go to Naivas, so because of those red stickers of for the offers. Now the guy that mentioned about the offers things, now I'll have to be very careful on those offers. So we used to buy some things, and there's a specific amount of money that we used to use for every month. We used to shop with 6,000 bob. So the same 6,000 bob that we used to use back then, just the other day we around 7,000 and something, purchasing the same things we to purchase for 6,000, and we reduced some of the stuff. Also include some of the offers, so action of some shillings here and there. So yeah, I would say as they say, the belt was tightened way back after this regime came in. And basically, how you know that there's a change in terms of economic situation in your pocket or in household. That's just compare number one, 3 to 4 years, 3 years. Let me not go 4 years, 2.5 years, 3 years back. The amount of money that you used in shopping, number one, and the amount of things that in within the budget that you are, doing the shop with, vis-a-vis currently the amount of money you are using and the number of items that you buy with that amount of money. So that's number one. So some things have reduced in the shopping list, basically. And also the number of trips regarding when the vehicle. So one of my friend has a vehicle and a bike. Used to use his vehicle, but now he's using his bike because of the amount of fuel being used, the budget, etc. You see, even the petrol stations right now, they are wananyonga hiyo amount of fuel. So if you buy the fuel at 5,000, you're not getting the fuel of 5,000. You are getting fuel of around 4,000. and on top of that, the amount of the octane and all that, it has been reduced and all that. So basically, those are the indicators that I would say personally, and on my friend's side, that have made me know that indeed the economy is not doing well in terms of spending and all. Yeah, also he used to go to, you see these people who usually have like, how do I put it? Like there's a group of Mazda, whatever, Mitsubishi, whatever, Toyota, whatever. So these people usually meet up, and then maybe they go to a far place like Namanga, like Nakuru, etc. He has, he's not doing that anymore. He's not doing that anymore because of the budget. He's now redirected that budget to something else in his household. So that's what I can say, Peter.
Asante sana. Naona nimebaki na Good Boy na kina Alkebulan hapa hivi, and I'm wondering where are the other gentlemen and the ladies. Of course, we are about 7:30 p.m. East African time, so we have enough time to discuss through this economy. Of course, the shilling has been on a constant 129, 128. I don't know what is being masked. Call me a skeptic, but one day when whatever they are doing is done, the shilling will be at 200 shillings. I don't know. Ni mimi tu kujiambia, siko sure ni nini inaendelea, ama ni mimi ndo niko skeptic, Good Boy, because the shilling was, how can it come from 160 come down to 130 and just stay there? Haipandi haishuki.
By the way, that's another thing that keeps me wondering. I used to do the exchange. There's a place I used to work, and I used to earn in dollars. So I used to go and do back then when it was 165, 170. Sometimes it could go to 180. And then suddenly, Peter, suddenly, mark that word, from 170 to 129. It came to 128 and then 129, 129.5, 128.9. It plays around there. So I'm also skeptic because I think it is not. It is intentional, and it is robotic. Let me say robotic. Yani ni kama imeshikiliwa mahali. So it can be easily released and then go back to the default exchange rate, that is 170, 180 and all that. By the way, as you've said, if later on we could see even now it plunging to around 200. Hello, can you hear me, Peter?
Ndio nakuwa nataka kukuuliza, kwani umeenda wapi? Kumbe hata wewe umepotea. Yes, now I can hear you.
Yeah, as you said, with the day that this thing now it will be exposed, and I'm sure it will be exposed very soon. The day that it will be exposed, the shilling will plunge. You'll see it's plunging right from 129 to around 200 there. That's when you'll know that there was a hand behind all these, things, the shilling thing that we're being lied to, that the shilling has maintained, the shilling has, stabilized and all that. May think it is just false. There's nothing, it is not natural. It is not the market that has stabilized this shilling. This thing has been machinated from somewhere. And I think it will be soon exposed. And I think people now will understand how these people work. Sorry to ask this. Can you, Japonji and Weston, I would really like to hear your opinions. Thank you.
we have been calling on people to also request the microphone and talk to us so that we don't podcast. But it seems like wako kwa maeneo ya kelele ama tutasema vipi. And of course, I just managed to remind you that our show comes to you every weekday from 4 all the way to 9. We're gonna be taking a short break, but when we return, it's still gonna be the same timing. My question is, what were your feelings on the economy? Anasema kwamba their currency pegging with UAE. Let's ask Grok what currency pegging is. Unajua hizi vitu mnasemanga hapa ndo mkae wa dangerous. Mi niliwaambia biology if we were to depend on business studies, I would be a very big failure. Labda mngaenijua. I was very bad at business, guys. Acha tu nijitetee mapema. Anyway, that aside, let's see what Carnage and Japonji have to say. Japonji, where are you, bwana? How are you doing? Japonji ataenda hajafika. Carnage, talk to me.
Hey, Pipi, can you hear me?
Shukran. Habari yenu bana.
Oh, Japonji ametusikia. Hi, Japonji.
Pipi, I don't know why I've been trying to request the mic and going. I don't know if it was my network or the space. Pipi, very good conversation. Wewe cheka tu, economy imekauka kila mahali. Unajua, as we speak, Pipi, investors that I know, very billionaires and millionaires, I don't know if you know any. They are now on their screens checking the stock. The stocks are plummeting. I don't know which word to use. But if you go and check live stock now and what Trump has just said, and there's a lot of rumor going up and down, and people are even predicting how we call recession. This is a big thing, you know. The reason I'm telling you this, PP, is not to scare anyone here, because they also, most of us even don't understand what is the recession and how it will actually affect us in the long run. But what I mean to say is this, PP, there is something called currency pegging, you know, and there's a time I spoke about it. PP, you see, if you look at if you ask anyone who's been in UAE, they will tell you that $1 to dirham has been 3.65. I don't know for how many years, more than 20 years, I think it's been here. So when we say pegging, it means that the US dollars and dirhams, in pesa huku sio shilingi, inaitwa dirhams, okay? So ina ensure that the value of the dirham remains constant relative to US dollar. Unasikia, US and the dirhams peg has been in place since 1997 with a fixed exchange rate of $1 to 3.675. The primary reason for pegging the dirham to US dollar is that oil exports are priced in US dollars. So, PP, that one can give you an idea. They did pegging. There is something they did, and if it's not pegging, I don't know, because even I'm trying to ask. Even the Grok has just responded. I had tagged you, PP, on the same thing, and Grok is saying that currency pegging is when a country's G fixes its currency value to another, like UAE dirham to US. Yes, he's saying the same thing that I was trying to explain. So, PP, it's like you are living in a bubble economy. It's a plastic economy, you know. Anything goes, you know. And you see, look at the power of US dollars, PP. Yani, Trump has made a lot of changes on the export, import, and tax, you know, and stock exchange may lose to your Toyota. So most investors now, they are just, if wako tu on phone, they are on their forex and everything. They're just, you know, they're just checking and trying to predict and all that, you know, whatever that means. So having said that, PP, the high cost of living. People, we've been talking here. I've been listening. I was just busy. I couldn't respond to anything. I've been listening to everyone talking about things that I'm sorry to say, but we already know. You know, we already know the failures of government, what they're doing, what they're stealing. The only thing that no one is asking. People, I sent you video. Okiya Mtata was today talking about the odious debts, and he brought evidence for Kalatas. He was live on Spice, I think Spice FM in the morning, And you know, he has even open up charges against Uhuru, and he has opened up charges against Ruto, and these are very, very, very serious charges. You know, because TP, as we speak now, there is 2.3 trillion that is unaccounted for. You see, they borrowed the loan first against the constitution, because any extension of loan or external loan borrowing, it has to go through the parliament and all those, you know, there's procedure. They didn't follow any procedure. And then even that money that they took, they cannot account for that money, you know. So they did the same thing, you know. They took loan and they used Kenyans as collateral, and then that money, we are paying loan. You see, someone said that 80% of tax collection is going, it's true. 80% of the tax collection is going to the debts, you know. Pipi, there's no way unaweza kuwa, someone said unaweza lipwa 100,000 alafu 80,000 unalipa nayo deni yenye haujui. You know, that is where Kenyans we need to be angry. I don't know, but sometimes pipi hata tukiongea hapa, me, I always feel like we are not angry enough. I don't know how to say it. I don't know, because in a functional society and in the world, if a country is taking 80% of the tax revenue, paying taxes, no, paying loans, odious debts, that they cannot even show you what it was used for, you know, then I don't know if we should blame ourselves as citizens, because for me, this is even bigger than the finance bill in 2024 that people went to the street for. This is bigger. We are talking about trillions. If we can offset that, if they can bring back that stolen money alone, and you can check those facts there and the files, and that guy came with all the data and everything, which correlates with the public, you know, public accounts and whatever. All those documents were there, and he tabled them, you know. And people were not like really shocked, because some of us had seen the same documents with Wanjigi, you know. So the question today should be, you know, why are Kenyans not angry enough? Is it the culture? You know, why are we not angry enough, PP? That 80% of the tax collected is being in a lipa deni enya tuji what it was used for, you know. And I didn't want to rant, but why are we even talking about everything? Economy star, people. I know. And I can tell you, as someone who supports a lot of people back home, person who sends money back home, I can tell you that like for 20, 30K, that is nothing nowadays in Kenya. I don't know if it's inflation or whatever, it's very bad. As much as they're pegging the shilling in dollars, you know, against dirhams or dollars, okay, whichever, it doesn't reflect the true state. And this is what sometimes happen in Dubai here in Middle East, you know, whatever happens, recession nini, inakwanga tu hapo pipi 2008 nini recession watu inakwanga tu $1 3 point, that is, it's fixed hapo, unajua against their oil exports, as Groker said, you know. And so we are not operating within a free market, unaget. There is nothing like free market in Kenya. Everything is being dictated. They have already put that, ni kama betting, PP. You can't beat the AI, the programming of betting. You cannot win. Yani it's just there for you for it to take money from you. You cannot beat the system. That's what I mean, you know. So again, PP, how angry are Kenyans? That should be the question we ask ourselves. And how much more should we be squeezed to get angrier, you know, to come off the seat? The problem is this, PP, the weak link, as I always say, the middle class, they still can afford 1 or 2, 3 things. They still have, you know, and I repeat, the tick in the cow thinks that the cow is still alive, but the cow is dead. Even Mbadi was saying that things are worse. And I don't understand how Mbadi cannot answer a simple question. The first thing Mbadi said when he took office was that he was going to do audit of the debts that we are paying. How long ago is that? We've been waiting. There is some, I think about 12 billion, I think, that is unaccounted for. When Raila was doing campaign for AU, and it's allegedly being said that money that is missing, I think 10 to 12 billion, was used to campaign for Raila, in the AU. PP, we are talking about 10 to 12 billion. No, these are numbers that are there, and it's open, it's in the public domain. Me, I don't know what is happening in Kenya, but I don't know. PP, let me land now. I will come back later.
Umesema kwamba middle class unasema ni gali wakinunua. Hebu nipatie haki na vitu ni expensive of late. Hebu nipatie. Yeah, naelewa. Fare imepanda. Mtu unapanda matatu yenye umezoea kupanda 100 bob. Unaambiwa lipa 250. Na unasema ni gali nini? Shuka. So lakini ukitaka kujua venye middle class wanakuanga, jaribu kuleta vurugu kwa gari, ukijaribu kutetea watu eti tuache kubebwa excess. Wewe si unyamaze tuende. Hata wao wenyewe ndo watakushukisha. Mshukishe huyu. Hataki kwenda. Anyway, tusikue kama hao watu kwenye matatu, tukue able kuongea wakati tunaona kwamba hizi issues zinaenda vibaya. Alright, namwona Carnage ako hapa. It's 13 minutes to the top of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Home Run with PP. Carnage.
Hey,
Yes.
yeah. It's a very difficult moment because I usually say that if we are not careful enough, what will our children have for the we are having young children growing up. They are growing up fast, but when you look at the state of economy, it will take years to correct the thuggery that has been there in the past few years. But in terms of mitigating the high cost of living, I mean, it's difficult when we are importing everything, when we do not produce anything at underwear to tengeneze zetu. But it's those things where people need to to prioritize our even change our consumer behavior, because we are a capital economy that but we produce nothing, and capital is concentrated towards a few that they don't feel anything when you are complaining, and it is likely to get worse with whatever is happening in America from the predictions and the economists. We still don't even have our own economic model. We still rely on Keynesian models that are not African models. Our factors of production, everything we import. But to mitigate, we'll have to reduce unnecessary expenditure. For me, alcohol is not necessary for anyone at this point who is who feels betting as an example has been said. The betting companies seem to continue to be profitable, but the majority of people that engage in activities such as betting are the ones that are pre-exposed, or don't have as much disposable income. And food is now, you see, when people understand what is happening globally on when we see Bill Gates walking around, they are transitioning into a this one one world, what do they call it, wanaita one world agenda ama something like that. They want to control it's all about the population. They introduce foods where you have no control over what is put in your foods. Pesticides that are not allowed in foreign countries are dumped in Africa for us to consume. And then we are surprised that the rate of cancer is high. Medication and healthcare is meant to kill us. Until people understand that all this that is happening is meant to disfranchise the people. And kuna mtu ameuliza how much will they milk us dry. These people will milk us dry if we think we have seen the end of them, until people, until people become active in, the people that are elected into office. I was thinking the other day, my entire family, there is no politician, there is no one. Yeah? The entire family, which is a big family, if I may say so, and we meet regularly, we have all, family gatherings, but no one is invested in politics, even mashinani kule, where, but until people realize that they have to take up political positions so that we do not have to talk about these other guys. I don't even talk about them anymore. The only person I can, name by name is maybe Omtata, because I have seen Omtata for a very long time. He's been consistent, and what he's doing, is not something usual. Deciding to sue a former sitting president and a sitting president, and we know what usually happens when some of these things happen. But the people that are enjoying the proceeds of corruption in our country, the military, that is why we can have a military guy, openly speak about politics, one way or the, I mean, I would respect him if he took us the Burkina Faso way, even for 5 years, we stop the downtrend. But if this trend is not interrupted, I mean, we'll have to figure out how we do life, how we bank, because the banking system, the central banking system, is a Ponzi scheme. That is what it is. It is a debt scheme. That is why, I saw someone, a very popular person, speak about why are children going to school if you're not doing, but education is indispensable. You can never undermine the value of education, but how we do education, how we impart education into the younger generations, we will have to we also need to we will have to figure out how we are going to get away from this governance system. The government is so much involved in our lives, whether health, education, everything, government, we need a way out, and we have to be smart. We will have to find ways, and I mean, at this point, sometimes I think, who has the solution? I think we shall have to come up with the solutions, but they cannot be the same problems. We cannot. I don't have any confidence in any political solution to the problems. The institutions that have caused this problem. Our MPs are the most highly paid or globally. Our president highest, but is the most useless. But we will figure out how do we hold our savings. The value of gold right now is up. There is gold in DR Congo, but there is gold in Kenya. But we'll figure out how we are going to disrupt the system, because it is the whole system, and it cannot. The political system is just one part of it. There is the money system. Not many people understand how money works in the sense of how debt is created. That is why a few people can take loans, use taxation to pay for the loans when they have enriched themselves. But it is we've been here for long. We'll be here as long as we need to. And we need to keep these conversations going. Let us try and learn as much as we can on a daily basis, so that we know if it is about food. I mean, people can find alternative sources of their own food. People can grow their own food, small scale. But if we continue depending on the commercialized system, President ako kila mahali anafungua soko. I mean, needs to give us a break. How do we industrialize at this point? Do we have the skills within the society to transition us into, and what is the role of the private sector in because we have private billionaires suffering just as the same way that people in the slums are suffering from the activities of from bad political decisions. They ought to be even better off to seize these as opportunities. I will land there. Thank you very much.
And you know, you talked about the dollar. Umeongelea venye wanakopa madeni na pesa haitumiki, and you're talking about industrialization. If you hear the PS interviews guys, mi nataka mniambie ukweli hivi, mtu ako worth 480 million Kenya shillings, US dollar tuseme kama $1 million, $4 million, anakuja kutafuta kazi ya permanent secretary ya kufanyia nini? Huh? PS
It is to
480 million.
continue looting. They are not there for performance. Their primary role is looting. Any position in government at this point, hata ukienda huko mashinani kule kuna watu wa ID unakutanga tu the same kiburi. So government as a structure is rotten. No, you cannot unrotten a rotten potato. It is rotten.
So then why when you say we need to talk daily, we spend a lot of time on spaces on a daily just to keep this conversation going. Why would you not tell us it's not going to? It's like telling us it's not going to work. You know.
No. I did not say it is not going to work. What I'm saying, is like divesting. We are so much invested in government providing everything we need that it chokes even the private sector. But the private sector should be, look at criminality, for example. When in the US, when they criminalized alcohol back in the years, what happened? People brewed the alcohol, and it became one of the biggest sectors, even financially. Alternatives. We have to find alternatives. Even banking. When I say banking, people think there is no alternative. But why is it that a farmer needs to transact every other transaction based on a currency that is fixed? Siwezi uza mahindi nipate. People, even at this point, I would rather butter. But to people, it is not an option. But until it becomes an option, when you cannot find it, that is when people will realize. Until it gets better, who has confidence in any ABC that is going to be appointed under Ruto? You can call me a pessimist at this point, but as long as those positions, as long as it is not you or anyone in this space, and that is why I say we do not have a shortage of leaders. But until we are able to occupy these spaces where we can make meaningful changes, put up laws that how do we reduce salaries of people that have been taking millions? Because if you ask me today, if I become president, I slash the salary of the president by almost 70%. What is the point of paying the president almost 1 million shillings when he has state house and is provided transport by the government? Let him make 100,000 shillings like the common mwananchi. What is special being the president? There is nothing. The public servant, MPs. But how are we going to reduce those salaries if we are not the ones in those offices? That is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it is not going to work, but until we are able to make it work at this point, how do we mitigate the high cost, even high cost of credit? As you said, if you want a loan, they will ask for this and that. How are we able to? How is the private sector able to provide some of those things away from the banks? What are our structures? What our support structures are what have been exposed. When government has failed, our support structures that should be able to mitigate, whether it is family, community, those are the structures that have been exposed. Because they can barely meet the demand of the problems that people are going through. If it is
All right.
education, for example.
Let's hear what Japunji has to say as well. Naona baadaye kuna point hapa hivi mimi na support ya Chili Lemon anasema I'm not cutting back on my luxuries, I've simply chosen not to have children. Pia si lazima. Yeah, mi pia niko hapo. Kama siwezi lipa hata rent, naenda kupata watoto napeleka wapi? Hebu tuheshimiane. Japunji.
Pipi, now part 2 is about solutions. Now we go back to how do we survive in this environment that has been created by this government. How do we survive? What are the survival? Pipi, there's something that is going on. In Kenya. There is no cash flow, and I think you should be one of those people who has some barometers or whatever to check, especially on what you do, and the cash flow is not there. And when the cash flow is poor, it means two things. People who are stealing, they are not putting the money back into the economy, into the country. The people who are stealing the money, or those trillions that we hear about that were taken by Uhuru and Ruto, they are being taken outside the country. They have invested in Tanzania. They are investing in Rwanda. After because probably they know there's that fear of unknown of the reprisal or appraisal that will be coming. There is that fear. And for once, I want to side with Okiya Omtata to the fullest, in the persuasion of these two allegedly criminals, because anyone who steals money for hospital, people are dying, it should be just face the firing squad. But the big question is, will we still vote in the same people? There's a lot of debate, for the succession topics going around, Now Matiang'i is up, he's been funded, has allegedly been funded, and it's going viral. You've seen on your timeline also, it's going viral. But I refuse. I also refuse to accept the fact that we can heal in the same environment that made us sick. We cannot do that. It's impossible, and we cannot expect change from people who were in the previous regime or who've been in this regime, and they know it inside out, and we expect them to bring that change. We cannot bring change. That's why sometimes there's this saying that says that sometimes for you to effect change from home, you have to change home from outside. Sometimes it's difficult. People, for example, if you were to invest back home, like open a supermarket or something, the same locals, probably they will not even care much about supporting you. Sometimes you have to change. There's that generational wealth that sometimes you have to create from outside. You have to go outside, outside the box, outside the locality, So on the same ideology, I don't understand. And this is my fear. This is my biggest fear, that we are going to vote in people again, the same culprits, that whenever they are chased out of government, remember, my problem is not them speaking. My problem is always them fighting to stay until they are chased out, And yesterday we had a debate in the State of the Nation, and I was telling people, these guys who are speaking, they could have spoken. Okay, we cannot judge the messenger. We appreciate the message, but justice delayed is justice denied. When you are bringing all those, like today, people, I understand why most people maybe are not on the mic, because they are expecting Gachagua to speak about he has a bombshell. I think in the next 30 minutes there's a big bombshell apparently from Gachagua, and I have bad news for you. There is nothing new. And also, if anything is to go by, the way that guy fought, the way he fought tooth and nail, to stay in power, trying to get sick. These guys were inside. If you look at 2 years ago when people were being sought, these guys were in power. So I try to understand this mindset that makes you believe that this person has now changed. Okay, he will be a good person. Let's vote them again back. No way. Looking for that savior mentality. I'm looking for common sense, basic common sense. What is so wrong about Maraga or Okiya Mtata? And there's something, Pipi, that is disturbing, that when those people who still are trying to come, they're trying to be relevant in the because they are so righteous, and they're trying to fit in the Kenyan political system, but it's not easy. But we are not even, we people who are informed, people who know how the system works, who've been voting, people, we are not even giving them a chance or an ear. So do you expect the people on the grassroots level to do that? And when someone, Pipi, said that there is less impact on these spaces or civic education, they're lying to themselves, because Pipi, finally we have aligned, the spaces have aligned to the ground. Look at the ground, it's hostile towards and more, I give credit, to Morara. Morara did a very good job, exposing the road, of all this launching that was done by Ruto. He did a good job. And the only thing that made Morara give up, if he has, because he's been offline for months, for almost 1 month plus, is because he felt that Kenyans let him down when he called them out, the jobless Kenyans, too much for job. People don't have jobs, but no one came. He felt let down. So there's that thick skin that you need to develop, and that's my fear with people like Maraga and Okiya Mtata. Doesn't mean that they're right or they're not good for the job. They are, but we are the people who are supposed to support them. Who else? Because I'm wondering. You look at how people are canceling each other. You see how people are canceling each other. Then it makes you wonder. What do we want? What exactly do you want? And who speaks for who on social media? Do we follow the big wigs? Because people have been a victim of all these big wigs some of the time, because when they double speak, I always call them out for hypocrisy. When someone was very busy on their timeline, campaigning and castigating, giving all the good sides of Ruto, at what point do we take personal responsibility? And these people have never at any point, come out and say, look, I did this, I didn't. So what makes you think that now you are making the right choice by picking someone like Matiang'i? When you campaigned for Ruto, even after all the facts were bare, and all those facts that people said about him, it just happened to be so. So what makes you, like, I don't know, like a god, or be the perfect person to give us direction on social media, because we have many followers. And when you try to call them out and tell them, look, I don't want to call names, but look, this was your timeline for 2 years before Ruto was elected. You are very busy campaigning for him day and night. And you want us now to believe, to trust you, that now you are different. What has changed? You are still using the same tactic. So again, Pipi, we cannot come to these spaces again without having made up our mind on who we want sometimes, because we are part of the problem. And these are the people, I'm telling you, the middle class people who are comfortable. The 8 million who didn't vote, most of them fall in that middle class people. These are the people who think when someone is shot in the street, it's not their problem. They'll be sipping tea in their balcony. These are the people who will be like, who sent you to the street? And they never show up. These are Kenyans who are just there in the middle class, hanging in. They have some money dropping from the top, and they can always manage. But they are one chronic disease away from poverty. That one, one chronic disease. They're just holding on with loans and banks, and they can afford to get some. I mean, these are the weakest link in Kenya, in this society. because they don't show up, So, PP, let's keep talking in these spaces. Let's keep learning, Let's agree to disagree. Let's listen to more views, especially opposing views, so we can all come to the same table and agree on one thing, that we all agree this government is a sham, and anyone who spent all their resources, and they should not step aside per se, but they should not be on the lead to showing us the way forward for 2027. They should be ashamed somehow, and they should also publicly announce that they did wrong. They are not as loud as they used to be. They should not do that. I'm not saying Raila would be a good president. No, it would have been worse. But if you have campaigned for someone so much, PP, and it turns out that whatever you are doing, all your judgment was wrong, what makes you right all of a sudden? Ni nini hiyo umebadilika? Kibaki used to say, hiyo ujanja yote, huwezi tu amka all of a sudden, sasa you are smart. No way, we have to go back to the drawing board and talk about solutions here, And anytime someone comes up, wanataka, they are the same people who come out and dig and say, no, this guy alifanya hivi. But me, someone like Matiang'i was in the system. Me personally, I cannot advocate for him. Whatever happens, I will lose my vote. I will lose my vote to Maraiga or Mtata. And when people are not taking a stance at this point, people are not stating what they stand for at this point, they stand for nothing, So that's what I wanted to say, PP. Thanks.
All right, anaitwa Japonji mwenyewe. Japonji, thank you so much for that submission. I see we in the middle of your submission, you have gotten new speakers as well, in the form of Dr. Mofofu, and of course Abdirizak. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned in to Home Run with PP, and it comes to you each and every weekday. And of course, if you like what you're doing, pale juu kuna tip line 0721948229, where you can support this show. Of course, leo ni Monday na tumeanza brand new week jamanini, na ni kama sijui kama ni notifications zangu ndio mbaya ama hakuna mtu ameingia kwa Tifja. Ingieni pale hivi kwenye Tifja line to support hii show. That is how we keep this show running. Alkebulan nikawa kuna rebuttal. I'm gonna listen to Alkebulan, jump to Dr. Mofo and Fu. Alkebulan.
Okay, mine will be quick. Nataka kusikia pia new speakers. Now, I wanted to tell you how Americans legalized their guns. 200 years ago, they realized that the government can go against them. So they legalized guns. Civilians can have guns, so that one of the reasons was to protect themselves from the government. So 200 years ago, Mwamerika alikuwa ashajua hii government, kama vile sisi tumerealize saa hii, inaweza wageuka ikue gangster kama vile tuko sahi. Of course, unapata hii yetu tunakuwa led by gangsters. Wako na foot soldiers kuanzia MCA, wana report direct to their masters, wakina ODM, wakina KANU, wakina UDA. Hizi tu ni organized crime groups, kusema tu ukweli, and we need to just remove them from our money, because they are taking our money away. They are reducing our ability to do trade by taking away our money through taxes. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Alkebulan. Anaitwa Dr. Mofo. How are you doing, Dr. Mofo?
Hi, Pipita. I am all right. And thank you for yet another chance. Pipita, I think we are increasingly faced by one of the toughest time in our lives. That we seriously need to ask ourselves hard questions. It perturbs me, Pipita, because when we talk about the cost of living, these are inevitable aspects that happen as a result of how the economy is driven and how the economy is performing. But one thing you cannot be able to separate, and especially not only in Kenya, but across the world, is politics and economy. Because once you have, depending on what is happening in politics, and therefore the economy takes a certain shape or route. Currently, yes, if you look at, for example, what's happening in the US, the tariffs are being imposed, the trade wars that Donald Trump, has mounted against so many other economies. It's basically causing an inevitable trend in terms of a recession. Just today, I got a notification from one of my cryptocurrency wallets to notify me that one of the currencies has gone down to about 15%, and they're saying, this is dependent on the terms I have had with them, that I need to have notifications when the bearish trend is trending that way. That way, I've got to make a decision just to be on the safe side as far as risks are concerned. And so, yes, it's a world economy thing. But even then, the situation becomes more exacerbated in a situation where there's wanton corruption and mismanagement of the economy. A case in point is what is happening in Kenya. And so when people like Japoji, ask questions like, what do we do now? What solutions do we have? And he suggests that it will be inevitable to see the Kenyans have not been enlightened enough to be blindfolded by the talk of the day, the money that will be poured then, the people who will be buying them unga overnight just before the eve of the elections. To have the very people who've disfranchised this country and frustrated everybody go back to the seats. But the hard question I ask is, don't we have sufficient ground as it prevails now to disqualify these people from running for the elections, free election? I am more convinced, and I know Kenyans are equally persuaded, that Mr. William Ruto should not pass integrity tests to rerun for elections. It should not be a question of whether he will be re-elected or not. It should be a question of why should he be on the ballot? Why should he be in the ballot in the first place? Why should be in the jail? And so we are confronted with really hard times, because the very players who want to be re-elected in office are the same people who are laying the play field. They're the same people selecting the referees for the game. And the next question we ask ourselves is, what is the possibility of even these people conceding in the event they'll be defeated? They are making it totally impossible. If these people, we are told they were able to steal elections when they didn't have much influence, how much more are we convinced these people will concede defeat? Yesterday I was muted somewhere because I said there is glaring evidence that the current regime has bankrolled everybody, including the military. It is unusual, Pipita, to have the head of defense force, indulge in same in politics. And so the question is, what are the interests what are the interests of the people who should be in the barracks? It is for you to make decisions, Pipita. Initially, I thought we suffer from ignorance, but much has been poured to our heads, and perhaps we are dunderheads. I am therefore not sure whether it is an issue of ignorance or complacency. I don't know where it bites most, and perhaps that's what should be waiting for. Pipita, for 30 years, al-Bashir was in power. And it's not until one day the prices of bread rose. And a Sudanese said enough was enough. And people poured to the streets, led by, among others, a 28-year-old girl who was born 2 years after al-Bashir took power, Allah Salah. It is unfortunate that things have not improved then because, again, military has taken over. And so it is equally not uncharacteristic to see the trend in which Sudan has taken. I am not calling for suspension of the constitution. I do not know what we have within the constitution to ensure that the law and order is installed in Kenya, and most especially, this has to start from the house on the hill. I'm not advocating for coup. I'm not advocating for overthrowing the government, but I'm saying that Mr. William Ruto should be forced to resign. Mr. William Ruto knew very well, and this person is very strategic, he knew very well the importance of having support of the legislature. At one point, Pipita, we have not forgotten. At one point, when Mr. William Ruto was falling out with Uhuru Kenyatta, and perhaps this is where most people do not know. This is where the handshake was made between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. Mr. William Ruto contemplated removing Uhuru Kenyatta from power because he knew he had the numbers as far as URP members were concerned, and he wanted to reach out to Raila Odinga and move a motion of no confidence with Uhuru Kenyatta. And by the constitution, what would have happened is that Uhuru Kenyatta would have been removed from power and he would have taken over as the president. Having sensed the danger, he reached out to Raila Odinga. And so, having seen what happened in last year, June, Mr. William Ruto equally sensed danger and he quickly reached out to Raila Odinga so that it will be impossible for the public social discord to be moved to the legislature, to be moved to the parliament, where the issue of his fitness to be in office will be discussed. Unfortunately, we equally blame Raila Odinga because so many people have put trust in him. But all I'm saying is, let's ask ourselves hard questions. People need to be radicalized, unfortunately. That is my opinion. I've said that it is clear Mr. William Ruto will not accept the results, will not concede. And I'm saying these are not conspiracy. I mean, politics is a question of predicting the propensity of event based on the prevailing events. People steal so much money and you wonder why they need much more. Somebody was saying that William Ruto does not need a paycheck for 1 million Kenya shillings. Whether you take it or you don't, it doesn't matter to William Ruto. He's a person who borrows, on average, it's been said, he borrows 2 billion Kenya shillings since he took power. This money cannot be traced. It starts somewhere. It is held between few people. We have seen JB Muturi tell us how corruption is revolving around. I do not know what Gachagua is telling us. We saw something he's saying, but this person, he was close to William Ruto. William Ruto was able to keep him away from the knowledge of what is happening, running day-to-day running of government. That's the problem with having people who are fools, people uneducated in some of these positions. And so Gachagua is just there telling us Bomas is being sold. That's the most he's told us. Somebody who's been close to power. So, guys, hard times it is. We brace ourselves for really hard times, but we need to think radically and respond equally radically for people who are radical and unapologetic about what they're doing to us. Thank you, Pipita.
Thank you, Dr. Mofo, for that submission as well. I see Fu is here with us. How are you doing, Fu?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So someone talked about people who did not vote the last time, right? And the person said that these people did not vote because for some reason they felt they were better than other Kenyans. No, most people did not vote the last time because there were no candidates of substance at the ballot box. And I'm one of those people who did not vote. And I know a lot of other people who did not vote because that basically was nonsense. And most people could tell. And I think most people have been able to tell that it's been nonsense for a long time. And that's why people want the entire system gone. It's just that the number of people who have realized that it's nonsense have now grown vocal, and they are willing to remove those people from power. And actually, the thing is that by the time, if, for example, Ruto were to win by 2032, whether or not he willingly wants to leave or does not, the people who will hate Ruto the most will be people from his own ethnic group. Because, for example, by the time Uhuru was leaving power, the place he was hated the most was within his ethnic group. And for sure, Raila Odinga's mistake was joining hands with Uhuru, who at the time was hated, which is what he's done right now with Ruto, and then thinking that the people of Central would vote for him. So now, because we seem to end up in this situation where we are constantly ending up with nonsense politicians at the ballot, we are facing a situation where politics has become a money-based game. And because it's a money-based game, at this point, I'm honestly just wondering, because if it's a money-based game, we either have to do two things. We raise money for the candidates that we need, one, or two, we need to literally pay match the amount of money that these politicians are giving to these people. So, for example, if MPs say they are giving a certain number of money for people to show up at a rally, people have to match that amount for people to stay home. Of course, people would rather stay home and earn the same amount of money. I'm just wondering if this is a viable option, because otherwise, because all these people need is attention. And as long as people see that these bad politicians have all the attention, they won't get up to vote for a clean politician because they'll give up. And this is why the politics of money will always win, because what they want is attention. And with that attention, they have won by default. If they could not, they would not be spending their money. So maybe I have a crazy suggestion, but maybe we need to match what these politicians are doing and fight fire with fire. I don't know how that's done or it can be done, but that's just my thought. It's a crazy one, but it is what it is.
All right. Asante sana for that. I see Abdi Rizak is also on the mic. I would like to hear from Abdi Rizak. So apparently, kumbe si eti M-Pesa yangu haifanyi. Ni tip hazijakuja. Aya, suddenly nimeona hapa hivi Japonja ameingia kwa Tipja and it has happened. It has worked. So ingieni pale hivi kwenye Tipja line 0721948229 and also support the show. Aya, Abdi, how are you doing?
Pipi, poa sana, nimekusalimia na listeners wote pia. And kweli siko kwenye space sana, sometimes topic kama hiyo ni nzuri. Sasa and high cost of living, hiyo mi naona ni international, sababu hii nchi ambayo mi naishi sahii price ya coffee imeongezeka na 200 Kenya shilling, ni around 20 crown, Swedish crown I think. So hiyo ni international, na pia tulikuwa tunaongea na colleagues ameanza kupunguza vikombe vya coffee kwa siku ile anakunywa coffee. Kama ni vikombe 5 atakunywa vikombe 3. Aanze kupunguza, kama ni vikombe 8 itakuwa kama vikombe kama 5 hivi. Kama ni 3 ikuwe 2. Sasa naona cost of living pia hapo pia imetu affect. Na ni Scandinavian countries, maisha yamekuwa juu and kila mmoja analalamika hapa Scandinavia. So hiyo ni international, na Kenya pia imeaffected sababu kuna familia yangu wote wanaishi huko, pia wanaona hiyo shida pia iko. Lakini upande wa siasa sijui kama imeaffect hiyo economy ya Kenya. Hapo nitasikiza vizuri. Sasa cost of living iko juu pipi, hiyo ndio mimi nataka kusema, na ni international. Sijui imetokea nini, makosa gani imefanyika. So hiyo shida iko. Ile kitu mtu anaweza fanya ni kuishi budget na kupunguza vile anatumia matumizi yake. Kama uko na mahali ya kulima unaweza panda tayari pipi sahi mahindi, sababu Kenya tunapenda ugali sana, si unajua. So anze kupanda mahindi yako polepole tu. Sasa upande wa siasa siwezi eleza zaidi, sijui vile mambo inaenda. Kama mtu anaharibu nchi, hiyo ni shida kubwa sana.
So, naweza sema jambo?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So for Abdi, ukisema cost of living ina increase for different reason in Europe na for different reason in Kenya, different reason US. Europe wako na shida ya watu wengi ni wazee, so wanatumia a lot from social security, a lot on healthcare. Tena kwao manufacturing imepungua. Zamani watu walikuwa wananunua for example simu za Nokia from Finland, which is Scandinavian. A lot of companies, kina Siemens, kampuni mingi zilikuwa European. Siku hizi watu wanatumia Huawei for telecommunication, hawatumii Siemens, hawatumii Ericsson as much. So the thing ambayo ina affect cost of living in Europe ni very different from Kenya, where in Kenya literally ni watu wanaiba pesa, wanaomba pesa ama wanaiba pesa, wanaeka in European banks, wanaeka every other place. In the US wako na shida ya manufacturing na tariffs. So for sure kuna ile ya Kenya, yani ni ile watu wanafanya mambo mabaya kimaksudi, wanakuibia. Yani unaona ukikosa pesa kunaye ambaye hajalipwa na kuna mwingine ameibiwa. Ya Kenya sasa ni sisi tumeibiwa yani.
Okay, kweli hapo nimekuelewa vizuri. Kwa hapo kuna social security, kuna budget ya wananchi, kuna crisis kama hii recession ikitokea ya high cost of living, watu wanasaidiwa. So kuna plan imewekwa, kama vile corona ilikuwa. Wakati wa corona watu wengi walikuwa wafanye kazi lakini walikuwa wanapata usaidizi. Especially everything iko accountability iko high, so ni different management. So hiyo nakubali, there's 2 different countries na 2 different management. So shida ni watu vile umesema binafsi ambao wamechaguliwa, na inahuzunisha sana mtu ambaye amechaguliwa na anatengeneza nchi ikuwe endelea na mambo yanazidi kuharibika sababu ya ubinafsi. So hiyo ni kitu ambayo inafaa Kenya ikae chini anze kuzungumza kuhusu maisha ya wananchi. Hiyo ndio itakuja tu, na hiyo inaweza toka kwa wananchi tu. I think the solution iko kwa wananchi tu. So I hope cost of living vile umesema iko tofauti nchi ya Kenya na nchi za huku uzunguni. So kuna different policy na kuna different government, na cost of living hiyo pia imetu affect huku, na pia staff kama tuseme kuna chai ya staff, mtu anakunywa chai ya staff pia imeanza kupunguzwa, na coffee ya staff pia imeanza kupunguzwa. Sasa budget imeanza kuaffect hapa pia mambo ya cost of living. So tofauti pengine hapa ni vile import na export ndio imeanza kuwa, na zile nchi ilikuwa kiproduce pengine imeanza kuacha kuproduce, na kuna vitu nyingi inaweza affect nchi, lakini nchi ya Kenya vile umesema ni kutoka kwa watu. So tuone hao watu kama watamaliza hiyo shida, ikuwe kila kitu ikuwe haki kwa watu wote.
Namwona mrembo Betty ametujoin hapa. Betty, how are you doing?
Sorry, Pipi, to cut. Thank you for your time. Spaces changing ideas now.